It's time to turn out the lights, grab some popcorn, and watch some horror movies. This is the Terrible Terror Podcast. Each episode I delve into the world of horror movies. Why do I do it? Well, I can't really explain it, but I love these horrifying flicks. So if you made your own movie on your phone, or made your own special effects MacGyver style, please send it my way. Now, what happens when you mix Coraline, horror, and a lack of imagination? Why, you get imaginary. Why, hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Terrible Terror Podcast. And this time, it has been some time that I've done something that's relatively new, right? This came out earlier this year, and of course, I'm talking about Imaginary. And Imaginary is supposedly one of the worst movies of the year. Right? That's what a lot of people have been saying. I mean, you can just look at ratings everywhere. You know, IMDb has it as user rating of 4.7. It didn't get very high marks across the board. It was made between $8 and $10 million, but surprisingly made about $39 million. And that's why these movies keep getting made, is because, you know, the thing is that like, when it comes to horror movies, they really run the gamut in terms of quality for the price that they're made for, right? Some get a relatively good budget and they're absolute flops, or they're just not very good, but it's still relatively cheap to make, right? It's why, in my opinion, publishers like Blumhouse continue to see success in this realm. Right? Not every movie that Blumhouse does is insanely good. They hit it out of the park every now and then, but they don't spend a whole lot on the movies. And honestly, these movies end up coming out and doing extremely well for the budgets that they're being set. There's not a whole lot of marketing budgets that come along with this, right? It's just like, it's such an odd thing when it comes to these big budget, quote unquote, big budget horror movies that are out there, and compared to something like, if you want to say recently, something like Twisters, which could spend up to $100 million with the marketing and everything else that it did, and, you know, star power in quotes, definitely, all that stuff put together. And then if it doesn't do well, or even looking at something like Furiosa, which I think was close to 200 million or more to make, and it completely bombed. It's considered a bomb when it makes about as much money as a movie like Imaginary does. And so these types of movies keep getting made and they keep getting done because they're going with the surefire thing. They only spent $10 million on this movie, but they're still making $29 million in profit after everything was done. So it's such a weird no-brainer when it comes to the big budget things. And these movies themselves, they're still relatively popular. Horror in like the big budget or the theater space is doing extremely well. And it's always done well. It's one of those things like, you know, when they say that, you know, they're like, I guess you want to say surefire things or things that never go out of style. Horror seems to be that thing in the major theaters, and it hits like every age imaginable, right? But the majority of people that end up seeing it, and why you see a lot of the theatrical releases being PG-13 releases, is the teen demographic. They're going to go to this. They want to be scared. And I don't feel like I'm generalizing when I'm saying it. Like, they see these things, oh man, this is going to be creepy, this is going to be great. And even if it's bad, they're able to get that demographics money. So movies like Imaginary keep getting made. And there's more than this that came out this year that's supposedly some of the worst movies we'll see all year. And yet they're like winning the weekends at their box office, where you get a movie that maybe is a little more artsy, and if it gets released into the theater, something like Late Night with the Devil, that thing actually did relatively well, and I think a lot of that had to deal with word of mouth, but I don't think it made as much as this movie did, and it still has the same type, if not less of a budget, and if it did well enough to break its budget in the box office for a limited time run, it's a fucking winner. But we're not getting as many of those types of movies as we are getting these types of movies, which also, is fuel for this podcast. It's one of the reasons why I'm doing this movie. And it's a movie, honestly, I wanted to see in the theater because I thought that this was going to be a terrible, terrible, terrible movie, right? And in a way, I would definitely say that this movie it's better than I thought it was going to be, but that's not saying much, especially going through it. And it's definitely a case of a movie that it's really hindered in my mind by its budget, and especially as we get into the later parts of this movie. It's so weird that there's a couple of things that they did, and especially as we get into where the movie should go kind of crazy out of control, that it just kind of goes tame. And I don't think that is necessarily like set in the realm of PG-13. And I'm going to say this right off. This movie doesn't need to be rated R. It doesn't need anything special, right? And the only thing that really gets it, or I would rather say kind of like almost got it, an R rating, comes down to the language. Like, they definitely used the one word that they got to keep a PG-13 rating in this whole movie, right? When you're talking about PG-13, you get one fuck in the entire movie. You can only say it once, and they utilize it in this movie kind of in an appropriate time. And if that sounds like inappropriate, I meant, in a appropriate time. Sorry, sometimes my words, Californian here, this is the way that we talk. We just let words run together all the time. So it just doesn't need, it really does not need to be a bloody movie. And I'm fine with that for this type of movie. And I think that it actually fits and it actually works. So I want to get that completely out of the way. I don't think this movie needs to go balls to the wall with gore and horror. It's not like we're looking at a, to do something that's more in the mainstream that I wish was rated R. It's not like a Venom, right? If you've seen the two Venom movies, like, those movies should have been rated R. And they should have been a lot more violent for what they were going with. But it turns out that they wanted to keep that demographic of those people, right? Those kids that they're trying to get to the movie theater and see it. And it really hurt the movie. And it just would have been a lot more fun if Venom could be the true, like, violent anti-hero he is in the comics instead of what we got in the movie, right? And you could say it with a tons of it. It would almost be like, you're turning Terrifier into a fucking PG-13 movie. You don't want to do that, right? But when you're doing something that is in the premise of doing something that's like a psychological type of horror movie, which I think this movie's trying to be, at the same time, it doesn't really work out in that way, or just being kind of like a paranormal monster movie. Maybe that's what this movie's trying to be. I don't know what the identity of the scares that this movie's trying to do, just in general. And there's not a whole lot of like trivia or anything in this. Like, one of the trivia things that I saw is the first trailer premiere in front of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie consisted entirely of sound effects over a blank screen, encouraging audiences to use their imagination. Like, is that really trivia, right? And okay, but there is one where director Jeff Wadlow cited Poltergeist as an influence on this movie. Perfectly strikes the balance between scares and the benign sense of wonder and excitement and emotion that you get when you have a family that you care about. I'm going to question that last part because I don't know if I give a shit about this family in this movie at all. Like, I don't care really for anybody in this movie. And I'm also going to say this outright. The performances aren't that bad. They're not terrible. There's one actress in it that I'm kind of like, I don't like the character, and there's reasons why in the way that it's done that just drives me out the fucking wall, and it's just a little bit too much. And I knew what was going on with the character right away, but I don't want to hold like all the actors in this movie to that one character. Also, the girl that plays Alice is like, it's hit or miss. There's times when she's fine, and there's times when she's just a bad child actress, and I don't want to shit over child actors and actresses like really that much at all. Like, we're still going to poke fun, but, they're still finding their footing, or they got this role for a reason, or whatever they want to do. And there's times, like I said, where she's fine, and it's what I expect out of this type of film. I don't expect any child in a horror film to be like a caliber on the lines of fucking like The Sixth Sense or something like that. Right? They're no Haley Joel Osment when it comes to like these types of movies. But also, I'm also half expecting it to be just like an overacting on the child's part in terms of this. So we're really gonna like look at that last statement that the director said in this whole thing, that a family that you care about. And I can see, like I said earlier, I said like ghost film. So if Poltergeist is his influence for doing the film, then a ghost film kind of does make sense when you think of the larger picture and the way that the movie is moving and what it's trying to do. Does it fit in that realm? It's up to you to really decide. I mean, I kind of have my opinions on what I think it's going to be, but there's not else to it. There's a bunch of other things too that are in here. Like, we have the character of Alice. It's a tribute for Alice and Alice in Wonderland because of what she goes through in this film. And there's a couple of references to Labyrinth in this movie as well, if you've ever seen Labyrinth before, right? There's when you go into a specific part of the movie, in the way that it's like the way that they enter this place and the way that it's shown like it's upside down, it's paying tribute to Labyrinth as, Jennifer O'Connell goes into that world as well and then appears out on the other side. Right? And I feel like I'm saving a little bit too much already. Like, I know I'm going to spoil the whole fucking movie, and that's the reason why you're listening to this, to go through and hear me talk about each piece and tell you what's going on in the movie, and then going through and making jokes about shit and all that stuff for the people that continue to listen to the podcast, which I ultimately really appreciate. But I also kind of like to like keep some things like spoiler-ish, like spoiler-free-ish at the beginning when we're talking about it. So I think we just need to jump right into this movie and just kind of rip the Band-Aid off with everything that's opening up in the film. And again, like I said, the film itself opens up relatively well as we meet Jessica, who's our main, protagonist of this film, and she's going through a house, and it's very slow and methodical, and we see like a little door that she comes out of, like she just bursts out of, and she's being chased by this thing that kind of looks like part man, part spider. And already I got the Coraline vibes. And I'm gonna get the Coraline vibes as everything continues to move in this film, right? I really feel like they had a thought that they wanted to do. Like, they used, like, again, Coraline in some way, shape, or form to do the other world, right? That we're going to go through, because there's everything with doors and all this other stuff that they have there. But it seems like it really goes off the rails. And as she's walking by and she's got like stuff on her hands, and you see something that's written on the wall, and it reads that it's like a list of things that it's going to be explained a little later on in the movie, but it basically says something to paint, something that burns, something that you eat from, something that makes you happy, some peas of you. It's not peace, it's Peez as well. So it looks like a child wrote this, and then something that makes you mad. And it's basically just a kind of like a little list of things, and it's just kind of questionable, and it goes by relatively quick, right? For me, I actually had to go through and I had to pause and look at it and be like, what does it say on there? And if I was watching this in like the theater, I would just kind of like, I wonder what that all says, right? Instead of me being able to just go, hey, I'm going to just stop this here. I'll rewind a little bit to get it on the freeze frame. And we find what she has in her hands actually is blood that she's smearing on the wall as well. So, like I said, she's being chased around the hallways, and genuinely, it's a good setup scene. I think this is a good introduction to this movie in general, right? Because you get the Alice in Wonderland type of thing that's going on as her coming through the door, or Coraline, I would say, if you're doing more like recent stuff. And then she likes looking around her house, and she finds like a set of pliers with a tooth that's been pulled out that's sitting on a table. And as she continues to look around, all of a sudden some dude just comes out and like jumps at her, and then she opens up a door and it sends her to this weird blue world before, like, well, she tries to open up the door. I should correct myself there. And it doesn't really work. And when we go down and we see this weird, like, spider looking thing that doesn't look very good, right? And I can appreciate it because it's practical. I really can. When it comes to like these types of movies and everything, the more practical you get, even if it doesn't look the best, it's at least going to hold up later for whatever it is. And I don't mind it so much, but it's just kind of mid if you really want to think about it. Now, using that word, but that's now part of the vernacular, so I just kind of have it already set in my own. So when she tries to open the door, then all of a sudden she turns around and everything's in this like weird blue shade, and there's a bunch of other doors, and there's weird like checkerboard floors and everything like that. And she's trying to open the doors as this thing is still following her down the hallway, till eventually she gets to a room that does open, which happens to be a bedroom where there's somebody else that's like lying in the bed, and it looks to be like her, but it's not really her. It's somebody else. And then all of a sudden the weird spider thing like opens the door slowly and starts running at her, and then she wakes up. And she wakes up in her current place with her, I guess, her fiance or her new husband. I don't really know. I mean, I think it's assumed that like they're married, right? I think that's really what it is, but it's possible that they're not, because it just isn't. They're like, I feel like there's not enough information with the whole thing, because like the other big overarching thing that is in this movie is that she's being brought into this family, right? Because this is her man. I'll just, I believe his name is Max that we have here. And Max has two daughters, Taylor and Alice, that they have there. And she's being brought into the family, and she's trying to like integrate with them, right? Because they're foreign. Taylor's like older. She's like 15 or 16. And then you've got, Alice, who looks like she's maybe like 8 or 9. And so she's the new mother that's coming into the situation, right? She could be, to at least like Taylor, like the evil stepmom trying to take over. You're never going to be my mom. That type of attitude that we've got going on there. And then we have Alice, who I keep wanting to call Abigail for some reason, because she reminds me of Abigail Breslin. I don't know why. The entire time I just kept thinking about Little Miss Sunshine, because she looks almost like her in that movie, and it was driving me fucking crazy. And every time I go to say Alice, in the back of my mind, that one little spot in the back of my brain is going, psst, psst, psst. It's Abigail. It's Abigail. It's not Alice. It's Abigail. Say Abigail. Say Abigail. And so, you know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to do an on-podcast lobotomy to get that little piece out of my fucking brain, so I don't accidentally say Abigail at some point in this fucking like review that I'm going through here. So bear with me if I say fucking Abigail, because that little fucker in the back of my mind is going to come after me at some point or another, and I'm going to say that fucking name instead of Alice. At least I can remember the damn names of the characters in this movie, because they're pretty goddamn simple to remember when it comes to this film, except for that one old biddy that I just don't know if she even has a fucking name. I think it might be Gloria, but I'm not 100% certain on that. I'd probably have to look it up on like IMDb or something. It's not like I haven't looked at that shit at all, to look at other things for the film and like trivia and shit. So why would I look up that bitch's name? Don't fucking know. Anyway, so she ends up waking in her bed as the spider like runs over to her and jumps in front of her, and we get to see like a decent shot of its face. It's not too bad. And again, like I said, I think that this is primarily just practical makeup, and even with the lights for the eyes and all that stuff, if it's a mixture of like an overlay of CGI, perfectly fine. But it's not bad. It's not terrible. It's not laughable right now, but it's still not like super great. So she wakes up. there's her, we're going to call him husband. I'm just going to do that because I'd end up doing the whole time. But her husband's in bed and wonders what's going on and if she had that dream again.
Okay. Spider? Should we call an exterminator?
What I need is a new therapist.
Yeah. Another one.
I just thought they were stopping, I'm starting to feel lighter. Finish the book.
Oh, look. It's this apartment. The move, all the stuff with my ex. It's just too much stress. Hey, we don't have that much to tie up here. Let's just go. What's a couple days early?
The house isn't ready, babe. They're not even finished painting.
Who cares? I can keep the girls out of the way.
My dad's stuff is everywhere. There's no storage at the assisted living place. We still need to deal with that.
Come on. It's your happy place.
It's not the worst idea.
So there's another overarching story that we never really get to learn about. And we only really learn about through like images in the film in general. And I'm not talking about like, flashbacks or whatever, because this really is Jessica's story. The whole thing is based around Jessica and Alice for the most part. Taylor's just kind of there, and Max, he's basically gone for the entire fucking movie. At one point, he's going to go on tour, and we're never going to see him ever again for the rest of the movie. This movie's runtime is an hour and 44 minutes, and I feel like it's 14 minutes too long, to be honest with you. I think that there is a part where they could have just shortened it, and they could have dropped this whole thing with the ex, right? Because we mention it here like it's a big deal, and then it's like kind of a big deal for one scene, and then past that, it's never a big deal again, right? It is a little bit, I would say, towards the ending of the film, because it is like the caricature of the mother is like a big point towards the end of the movie in one scene, but I think that you could have just dropped that all together. I think you could have just made like a little mention right here and then just dropped it entirely. And you didn't really need it. And it could have been just like, the deal with the ex, because the kids are more attached to their, I would say original mom, but not their birth mother, their mom. It should just be mom. There shouldn't be any type of adjective in front of it or anything like that, because, that's the way that things would just work out. But they're more attached to their mom than they are their stepmom. And the stepmom, a lot of cases, a lot of women, when they go into a situation where the man has kids and they've got to step in and they are going to be the motherly role, there's some women that just go full force and just try to become the mom, try to become and take over the role of mother. And there could be a little of that. And then there are other women that like ease into the role until the kids accept her as the mom. And that's kind of what Jessica is here. Right? She's not really like trying to push anything, but you can tell, especially as we get into scenes in a little bit, that her and Alice have a better bond, because Alice is definitely younger than, Taylor is over here, and that they're able to actually create bonds based upon the work that she's doing. You see, she is like a children's book author and artist. I'm guessing she does both. I'm not sure why, but it's weird because they kind of paint her as just an artist, but then she's written the books at the same time, because everything she's having to do is a deadline to get the art done for the book, but she never really does any of the writing of the book. I don't know. Like, it's whatever. It's all meant to basically just show you that she has this like big imagination, right? And the focus is on the art, and of course the books are based on the trauma that she has with her father that we're going to learn about a little bit later in the film. And I do like the title card sequence that goes through in this film, like after this scene happens, because they're moving back into her childhood home. Her dad is in some type of assisted living facility because he went crazy at some point when she was a kid, shortly after her mother died. And we go through basically her childhood in this home. And we go see her grow up at least until she's about the age of 5. And I believe that's when she leaves, when all the trauma happens and she has to go live with her grandmother because her dad went crazy, right? Not in like the Eminem Haley type of crazy where she's going to sing on a rap song of his, but I mean like literally insane. Okay, so that's the way that we're going through the whole thing. But I do find it weird that like he's going to be catering to her in the way that we're doing it in this movie, right? That, you know, they're living in his apartment right now, which is where the kids grew up. But there's something, again, like I said, with the mom that we don't really know about, and we're going to find a little more about as the movie moves along. But again, like I said, I just, that's a bit that I could keep out of. You could still keep the ending of the part where, like, you know, the things going on with her being somewhat involved, and I'm trying to be as vague as possible. If you've seen the film, you know, and there's no, you know, like, big reason why you should be watching this movie before I talk about this movie, but I just feel like that little bit of backstory or whatever they're building into the mom in general, it's just there's not enough of a payout on it, because you don't really learn anything that goes on other than it does have some type of odd connection in between Alice and Jessica. Like, there's something that they share in common that, again, I just don't know if it makes any fucking sense. I mean, I guess it does, but it's just like there could have been something else that could have gone there. But anyway, getting back to my point with the whole thing, instead of constantly going off of tangents on the goddamn mother and all that shit, but she's not able to get like her creative juices flowing, and she's got something that bothers her, and she considers her happy place to be the place that she lived until she was 5. Which is very odd. She's just like, she remembers that being a happy time, but she doesn't really remember anything about that as well. Like, again, is it just because she remembers the time, I guess, from 4 to 5 with her mother being alive until her mother died? And then wouldn't that be the sad place because her mother died there? Like, I don't really get how this house represents, like, her finding her happy place until we're, again, at least at the beginning of the movie, it doesn't make any sense. I keep having to say this in this goddamn movie because it kind of makes sense as we get to the end why this is the happy place, but it's not a good reason why it's the happy place, right? It's goddamn, like, I just feel like would want to spoil everything on the ending right here, right now, without going through the whole normal rigmarole I go through to do these full reviews of the movie, because then it makes things at the beginning of this movie make more sense that still is dumb. So I could just go through and talk about it, you know, but I feel like I gotta keep to the schedule, and I gotta keep to the way that the movie flows, and let's go with it instead of just ruining and talking about it right away in the beginning of the whole goddamn review. But anyway, let's just continue before this becomes a 30-minute rant on the beginning of the movie that doesn't include anything else. But anyway, I digress with this. So this is her happy place. For some reasons, her happy place, even though she didn't live there very long, right? And for her to be able to get her creative juices back, they're going to move in there. Now, I get the whole thing. It's not necessarily, I wouldn't consider it to be the happy place. It's that her dad's going into hospice. That's not very fucking happy as it is. And she's being left the house. So they're all deciding to move to this house because it's a much larger place. It's in a much nicer neighborhood. It's a huge thing rather than living in this tiny little apartment with just, you know, the 4 of them. And the way that when we do see other parts of the apartment, we just see the room for the time being, but there is a little bit towards the end of the movie where we actually see the apartment that they were living in, and there's not a whole lot of space in that place. So it makes sense. You're going to be building a family. You have the option for a house. Here's a house. Move in. That makes perfect sense. But I just don't know if we need to necessarily call it her happy place. I guess that's the part that I have the issue with. Like, instead of just, hey, you know what? You've got this opportunity. I know that it was difficult living, you know, with your dad, and you had to be taken away from him. And that's the time when he went crazy when you were a little young. But maybe moving back in there is going to be the better way to do these things. Or it's going to be the more, you know, I would say, like, it's the important thing for our family to be able to have this on top of us, right? Like, you're contributing more to the family because you're giving us a home. And maybe the girls are going to see it that way because they're going to be able to have a better life because of it. Even though Taylor's 15, right? It's really going to be down to Alice, who ultimately gets to enjoy this the most that she possibly can. Even though you got to probably be good 3 years out of Taylor before maybe she goes off to college, or maybe she's that type of girl that's just going to, start working afterwards and she's going to go try to work her way through college. I mean, that could happen too. You never know. Those things happen all the time, don't they? Don't they? At least that's what some of those ladies have told me. But nonetheless, so they decide that, hey, it is moving day, and they're going to move in there, even though the house is not completely ready, right? The dad's stuff's still there. It hasn't been painted over, everything, yada, yada, yada. But it's going to be her good place, so they moved there. And Alice, right when they arrive, she's really amazed at how large it is. And, of course, Taylor is kind of the bitchy teen that just doesn't want to accept Jessica as her mother. And so as Jessica goes in, she sees a bunch of mail that's just been kind of left for her dad, and then goes to her childhood room where Alice comes by and realizes that, hey, it's pretty goddamn big, but Taylor then, of course, is a big bad bitch.
Did you draw all of these?
I must have.
You didn't get in trouble for doing art on the wall?
I guess not if I kept doing it. My grandma, who I moved in with after my mommy died, she used to always say that I turned every wall in her house into a canvas. I must have started here.
Your grandma sounded nice. My mom is too. When she's not sick.
I'm sorry they're not done painting yet. I wanted this house to be a blank canvas for you and your sister when we moved in.
I like the drawings.
Then you should add to them. You want this to be your room, Alley Cat?
Sorry, but I already promised Alice I would help her pick a bedroom. I'm thinking the big one at the end of the hall, without the creepy coloring book walls. Oh, and cool stepmom move. But Alley Cat, that's kind of our thing.
Oh, no. No, it's fine. That's our thing. Taylor gives me a hard time. I pretend it doesn't crush my soul.
Okay, so so she goes into her old bedroom where she notices all the drawings that are on the wall and everything's like, oh, this is nostalgic. And then she's like, I must have done this. If this is your happy place, wouldn't you remember all of this shit? I get it. 5 years old. I totally understand. I only remember specific things between 4 and 5. And the only things I remember about being 5 is pieces that happen in kindergarten, right? Little things like the videos that we watch. I remember we watched this one claymation video and it was about like making sure that you like washed your fruit or some shit, where there was like a bad apple and then it had like nasty worms and the kid ate the apple and then he got sick from it. And they're like, always check your fruit. Like, that was the type of thing that we watched. And then the one time where, like, me and this other little girl, we kissed and then we got sent to the principal's office. Like, those things I fucking remember. And we got, like, scolded for that shit. And, like, you're not supposed to be doing that in school. And then you find out 5 years later that people got boyfriends and girlfriends in goddamn, 6th grade or junior high or wherever the fuck it's going to be. And 5 years later after fucking kindergarten. And, they kiss in public all the fucking time. Especially you see your parents do it. What's the problem, bitch? I just like this girl. She likes me. We decided to have a kiss. Boom! We had a kiss. And then she moved away. I wonder if it's my fault. Maybe I was already turning into a little horny girl or something like that. They thought I was going to change her life. When, hey, there we go. There's my first kiss when I was fucking 5. Oh, boy. You don't understand what you got. You guys do it all the time. You say you love each other. She likes me. I like her. Why couldn't I do it? She could be my girlfriend at 5 years old. You never know. Maybe we would have been like married and happily ever after if you just let us kiss. Jesus fucking Christ. But nonetheless, it's just weird that you have this situation where she's like, this is where everything was great and happy, but I don't remember shit. Like, really? Was it really great and happy then? Why would this bring you to this place? And then you've got Alice here. And this is where there's like the little bit about the mom. The mom is not well. She's sick. And then you see her arm, and Alice's arm is completely scarred up. And when we look at Jessica's arm on the same arm, her arm also has scars. So they have a connection in that regard, right? They've both been damaged in some way, shape, or form. And we don't know if it's because of, maybe her dad, Jessica's dad. It's not because of Alice's dad, because Alice's dad is the nice guy, right? He's the one that saved the daughters. He's the one that's got control of the daughters. And there's a lot that can be said about, the father figure being the one that's going to be, obtaining parental rights to the kids and everything like that. But I don't want to go down that fucking rabbit hole because it's not worth talking about on a podcast. But nonetheless, it's, so something bad happened with the mom to where she abused the youngest kid, right? Whether it's something she's gone crazy or, she was just abusive or she was an alcoholic or whatever the fuck it is. You don't really know it, and you're not really made aware to what the situation possibly was. You just know that it was bad. It was something crazy that happened with the ex, and you know that Alice is physically damaged. Right? So the mom is a bad person in general as we're thinking about the film, but it's always throwaway stuff. There is a big focus on the arm because she slowly covers it up with her sweater like Alice does, right? But I just wish that they had said something, right? That there was something more. And there's something that does happen with the mom that kind of leads you down another rabbit hole of what it possibly could be, right? But I just, again, I hate to say things like this. I hate to say that we need everything explained to us. We need all this stuff. It's not necessarily what I'm trying to say when it comes to these type of things. I think that you do need to have something. You need something more nuggets than you give, right? There needs to be at least one descriptive nugget in the whole thing. Right? It's okay if you have all these kind of elusive nuggets, but when it really doesn't have a whole lot to the plot of it, unless there's something to do with imaginary friends and kids that are abused. That would be the only thing that I think, if the imaginary friend is made so that the kid has a place to hide away, because as we learn in the film, Alice, and especially with the trailers, and this is not spoiling anything here, is that the imaginary friend links his or herself, his self, pretty much, because his name is Chauncey, right, to Alice. And so if that's the case, and if that's what they're trying to say, great. You could do that, and I think you could work with that, and you can create it. But that's not the fucking case when it comes to this movie. That's not even talked about when it comes to this movie. There's nothing to do with abuse and creating this imaginary friend. Nothing like that. So why do we have to have these things about the mom? Couldn't it just been that the mom decided to leave the dad and leave the kids with her, and then the older daughter still pines for the mom even though the mom left them, and Jessica's trying to fill that void because they're motherless right now? And Taylor's rejecting it, just like she's rejecting it here when, Jessica's making a bond with Alice and calling her Alley Cat because she sees everybody else does it, and maybe the kid likes being called Alley Cat with the whole thing. And she's like, that's a cool stepmom move. But, bitch, that is our thing. That is not your thing. It's our thing. So don't go taking that thing from us. Okay? You're going to go out there and you're going to make this thing, and you're just going to leave like my mom did. You'll never replace my mom. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I get that trope, and that trope is perfectly fine. I'm totally cool with that. I don't have any issues with that at all. It makes sense in terms of the dynamic that they're trying to make in terms of this family and getting them, do you get to know the dynamic that's going on and everything like that? You know that she's a stepmom and she's coming in and she's trying to again, she's trying to fill that void, but it's more she's trying to be more friendly, I think, than motherly, and maybe she doesn't know exactly how to kind of fit the mother role right now, but she is with this dude, whether it's again husband, fiance, and based upon where the only thing that would make me say husband is that she does wear a ring on her ring finger on the hand where you're married, which is your left hand, I believe. even though, I was married and I know the whole thing with the rings and everything like that, I fucking hate wearing jewelry. It's just one of those things. And so, like, I just kept the ring, but I kept it away, and the whole thing, I just, it's not one of those things that I ever liked to do. And, hey, I'm married. I'm always married. That's just the way that I was. And, I just don't like wearing shit like that. So it's like my dad and my mom never wore their wedding rings either, and they've been married for 50 plus years. It's not like my dad's been cheating on my mom or my mom's been cheating on my dad, and every time my dad goes out and hangs out with somebody, which he never really did, right? I never really saw him go out with friends and go out for a beer or hit up a bar or do anything like that. He was always like, I'm the family man. I come home and I hang with my family. It was the same with my mom. Those two were always together all the time. It's one of those things. So I just kind of grew up in the same type of thing. Hey, I'm always going to be with this person. I'm going to be hanging out with them. Why do I need to have a piece of jewelry on my finger to represent the fact that, hey, we're together? We go out with other places. She's usually with me. So, hey, that must mean something, right? So whatever. That's just the way that this drives me crazy. I don't know why. But nonetheless, so where the fuck was I going with this? Oh, yeah, the movie. I meant to talk about the movie. So, of course, she's in this situation, and again, she's trying to bond with Alice and Taylor being a bitch and everything like that. But Max, he reassures her that, hey, everything is going to be fine, and you don't have to worry about anything. So we find her in a room looking through a bunch of old boxes, and she managed to find an old video camera. Now, I don't know exactly when this movie takes place. Like, I think this movie is taking place in 2023, 2024, like current time based upon the movie. And so the video camera, while I feel like it shouldn't be that old, like, it looks too new for the movie, to be honest with you. Like, I have to think about her because when everything took place, especially when she's looking through the videos, it's when she was 5 years old. So she was really, really, really young, right? And they keep making it a point that, yeah, she was 5 years old at whatever time it was. And like the video camera, like if we just did 20 years, 2004, I think the video camera would work at that point, right? But she looks to be about 30. So I want to say that she would have been born in 94. That means in 99, she would have had this type of video camera that looks this good. Like, these video cameras, yeah, it's a little bit smaller than what my dad was using back in the day in, like, 1995, where it was basically like, your studio cam that you had for yourself that you loaded in a VHS tape to record directly onto, right? But at the same time, like, this doesn't look like 95. I mean, digital cameras, what? Maybe they started in 98, maybe, and they weren't very good. Not at the quality that I can see of this video. Like, I remember digital cameras not really becoming a big thing until, like, the early 2000s. Like, I want to say, like, 2002, 2003. That's when they were becoming, like, mass marketing. I didn't say they weren't around, just not everybody had them. And to have a video camera of this quality, especially with the screen, with how big it is and how HD the screen is, this is a nitpick by me, but it bothered the ever-loving shit out of me. Let me tell you, like, out of all the things in this movie, because something happens later with a video camera, and oh my god, is that video worse than what you're seeing here, right? What you're seeing, it's obvious that this is, like, superimposed onto the fucking screen, right? There's no way that picture could be that clear on that old of a camera. Let's even say she was born in 2000, right? So she would be 24 at the time of this movie. So for her to be 9 or 5, it would have been 2005 to have that, right? That might be like that might be suitable, but there's no way that she's only 24, right? She's got to be, like, if you look at the hands and you look at the face, that's a mid-30s person, right? So even then, like, if you're, and I was generous going 30 to be that she was born in 95, but I'm saying that she was born in 90 maybe, and that it's 5 years, right? So 95 is when this camera is around, and no way a digital camera like that was available in 95. If it was, I'll eat my fucking sock. Like, there's just no way that something like that was made at that time. So it's one of those little, like, fallacies that drive me crazy with tech that nobody else is going to get pissed off about but me. But anyway, she's looking through the videos, and that's when Max approaches her on what he found. And, she basically tells that it's like of her happiest times that, again, I still can't believe that anybody would fucking remember at that age.
Where'd you find that?
In one of my dad's boxes.
How does it feel being back?
Good. I mean, I know I was happy here. I have the video to prove it. But the actual memories are so fuzzy.
Well, you were only 5 when you left. I don't remember anything from that age.
Really, I just want this to be great for the girls. I don't want to screw it up. I want them to know I love them.
Well, the thing with kids is that you just give out the love and you trust that they feel it. Even if they usually give you jack shit in return.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. You'll get the love back. Just not how you'd expect.
Oh, okay. So that's the way you deal with kids. That it's not about like nurturing them and teaching them and doing whatever. That kids just don't give a shit about their parents, and eventually they will. You'll get the love back at some point, but they're just going to treat you like utter trash. They're just going to throw you to... This is not selling me on fucking kids. And if I was Jessica, this wouldn't sell me on being their like surrogate mother for this case, right? That eventually they're going to earn your love. And oh my God, yes, I know this is fucking foreshadowing for what's going to happen later in the movie. I'm not yelling at you, the audience. I'm yelling at the fucking movie, okay? Like, they're literally setting, there's going to be this big thing that goes on, and you're going to go through these hardships. I know I'm watching a fucking horror movie, and I'm watching fucking imaginary, but come on. Really? Like, you're setting it up that everybody's going to be a big, happy fucking family by the end of this movie, that everybody's just going to be happy because they survived some horror and they all bonded in that type of thing. Oh, yeah, that's what I want. That's how I want these kids to suddenly love me and show their love for me, is I want them to almost fucking die by some fucking monster in another fucking plane of existence just so that they can love me. You know what? That doesn't sound like a bad idea. Maybe I should go have kids right now, then in 5 years, I can have them almost sucked dry by an imaginary... Wait, I'm jumping ahead of myself here. I don't want to explain parts of the movie just yet. But let's just say I'm going to have them kidnapped by some imaginary monster that wants them for their imagination. I've already said too much. But I just... It just seems so stupid to me that we gotta have this thing here so that we can set up other parts of the movie that we know are gonna happen anyway. Like, why do you spell this part out to me? Why do you give me this big nugget here, right? Where you didn't give me any big nugget about the goddamn mom and what the fuck she did to the kid, right? Like, or like exactly how fucking crazy. If this person is batshit insane, how batshit insane is this lady? Is this ex of yours for you to leave her and have complete custody of these 2 kids, right? You're not going to tell me or show me or do any of that, and that's not going to be a bonding experience for, say, the older girl, right? The younger girl, the bonding is different, okay? Young enough, they're malleable, their heads are still a little bit squishy. You can kind of reach in there and kind of rearrange things a little bit. You're with them young enough, they're going to see you as the other mommy, not in a Coraline way, but like in a good, happy, healthy way. And they're not going to be upset about you until they hit their like teens, and then they're just going to lash out at you like every teenage girl does, where they just yell and call you nasty names and want to fight you all the time, right? You're going to expect that, but when they're at a young age, you have fun with them. They grow to love you like you're their own mom. But here, it's going to have to take some traumatic experience. Is that what you're saying? Or is this only for Taylor? Is that the way that it's going to go? Because we showed that Alice and Jessica perfectly fine together, so, everything's going to be great with them. So after we get this epiphany from Max, after we learn what life is going to be like with Jessica and these kids, we go to the next day where she's trying to work on her drawings and try to get some type of inspiration, and then that's when Alice comes by and says one of the, dumbest lines in the movie. Like, I don't care what your beliefs are and what you think, and it just drives me mad. Like, this specific line is such a stupid line. And you could say so much. You don't have to say this specific thing, right? There's a way to do it and there's a way not to do it. And this is the way not to do it, right? And I'm talking about like an empowering type of line for like little kids, and to say that, here, just listen to the line. We're going to talk about it in a second. And again, I'm not coming from the angle like, oh, we shouldn't be doing this. We don't need to do this. I'm not like bitching about it. I'm saying go ahead. You can fucking do it all you want. Right? And again, I'm going to get more into this when we're done with this whole fucking clip. But, like, it's just, this is just fucking stupid.
I can't believe you get to draw and do fun stuff even though you're a grown-up.
Me neither.
Simon kind of scares me.
Yeah?
He's icky. You should kill him.
Characters who do bad things aren't all bad. Simon the Spider helps Molly be a better millipede.
I gave you so many prizes.
Unfortunately, those don't help with deadlines, or you can't think of what to draw.
Maybe you need a break. We could play a game instead.
Okay, it's one of the dumbest lines, followed by probably one of the better lines in the goddamn movie. And the one I'm talking about is the one at the beginning, right? Where she's like, I can't believe you get to draw all the time, even though you're a girl. Like, what? Like, what kind of stupid bullshit is this? Like, are we trying to, like, stand up to the patriarchy here in this little, like, small phrase for the whole thing? Why is that line even in the goddamn movie? Like I said, I don't care. I have so many different films and examples of things, and the best one that I can come up with right now off the top of my head, and I believe this to the full hardest of my fucking life when it comes to this, is fucking Coco. Okay? Yeah, I know I'm talking about a Pixar movie, Mexican Land of the Dead, all that fun stuff. Some people probably have never seen it before. It's my favorite Pixar movie fucking of ever, and it's because it presented something that I never had as a fucking kid. Right? A positive influence of Mexican culture on the big fucking screen. Not just Cheech and fucking Chong. Okay? While I love Cheech and fucking Chong, don't get me fucking wrong. Like, those movies are goddamn hilarious. I have in daily life, I'm constantly singing the fucking Mexican American songs, okay? You know the one. Mexican Americans don't like to get up early, but they do. That's the one I'm fucking talking about. Like, I find it fucking hilarious, and as an adult, that's funny to me. But as a kid, there was nothing. There really wasn't anything, right? And then here comes along Coco, and I remember going and seeing with my wife at the time, and because I really wanted to see this movie, because it just... I've become so much more in tune with that side of my life over the last couple of years, like I say the last 10 to 15 years, that I just want to explore it more because, growing up as somebody that is a mix, and I don't want to get in the whole thing of like Hispanics are not a fucking race. Like, fuck you. It's a fucking race. You should make it a fucking race. Don't just call it a fucking ethnicity, okay? Because I can't pick. If I'm purely fucking Hispanic, then what the fuck am I at that point, right? Just get rid of Hispanic and start just doing Mexican and Guatemalan and Salvadorian and fucking Brazilian and, Peruvian, all that fucking shit. Everybody just gets to be wherever the fuck they're from instead of doing this other type of bullshit where they leak that in there and I have a hard time with it, and this is getting me on my fucking soapbox because to most people, maybe you don't know, I'm fucking mixed, okay? My dad's fucking white, my mom's Mexican, Puerto Rican, all right? I have two different identities. I have a sister that looks like my dad, exactly like my dad, and it's scary, and I don't quite look like my mom, but I am the same complexion as my mother. So when people look at the two of us, especially when we were out together, just my sister and myself, they don't think that we're related. They never did when I was growing up. And there wasn't these types of things unless I was watching Spanish TV, which as growing up in a household that was mixed, all we spoke was English, right? So I never was in touch with that, so I never watched all the cool little, Spanish TV shows and lived the dual life of being able to understand Spanish and English at the same time. It's just not me. I'm primarily an English speaker, and I can understand some Spanish, but nothing to the extent that I could just speak it willingly, right? And just go out there, and if I say something, I say something. I can roll my fucking R's, and that's about it. I mean, all fucking day, that's about it, right? And so it just drove me crazy. In a good way, I'll say drove me crazy when Coco came out, because going to the theater and seeing these kids out there that are looking up to this and seeing their culture put on the whole big fucking screen is an amazing feeling to me. And I'm totally cool with everybody expressing everything about it. Doesn't always have to be specific things for, like, I know some people are going to be like, well, you know, it's America, it's a melting pot. Nobody should have differences and stuff. You have to celebrate everybody's differences in some way, shape, or form, right? I'm not saying go out there and this is only things that you can watch and this is only for you and it's not for anybody else and blah, blah, blah. But everybody should be open to everybody's cultures, and it should all be fucking represented wherever the fuck you go, right? I'm not going out on a limb in saying that. Like, if you want it to be a melting pot, then there should be a little bit of everything that's out there. That's all I'm trying to say. And so when you have this, and you have these empowerment movies for girls, and you have them for, you know, people of different ethnicities and races and everything like that, it's cool, but it doesn't need to be done in a force feed it down your fucking throat kind of way. And hence why I fucking love Coco, because it's not. It's just celebrating something that a lot of people don't know much about. It doesn't say it's not for you. It doesn't try to force any messages down anybody's throat. It just presents the fucking Day of the Dead and the tradition that it brings. That's all it does. Dia de los Muertos is such a powerful thing that more people should know about, right? And you have cultures here that celebrate it, and so everybody should just see it. But I don't have to tell you about how this is the only holiday that you should. There's nothing like that, you know? And again, I will stand by the whole thing. The Mexicans don't really care, like, to have all this stuff all the time, or to be politically correct, or all this other shit. It's probably why I grew up the way I did with my mom and everything like that, because she's far from being fucking politically correct, right? Even though, you know, I would say that she probably was more a progressive person than my dad was when growing up, but she still throws shit out there that I'm just kind of like, oh, holy shit, that's the way that you think? You know, it still amazes me at some point, even now. And of course, as you get older, you say more shit that's out there. And I'm not trying to be like, again, I really want to be like, I don't get into these type of things all the time, but when it comes to this, like, really, does anybody believe that a woman can't draw for a fucking living? Where the fuck is that? Who says that? Nobody says that. Nobody says, oh, I can't believe you're a girl and get to draw all the time. Like, oh my God, I've always been told that girls can't do anything artsy. Girls can do everything fucking artsy. In fact, that's a lot of times where they lead women to doing shit, is art and drawing and pictures and all this type of bullshit like that. You know, macrame and crocheting and all these cool artsy things. Like, that sometimes almost feels like what's expected for, like, some women to really be into. And to make a career of it is great. Like, what did somebody tell you that the only thing that a woman can be is a fucking mommy? Is that what they're going with in this whole thing? Like, it's such a throwaway line that doesn't need to be in this fucking movie, other than people are going to see it as some type of force-fed thing that's in there that's just going to cause people to fucking groan. It causes me to groan, and I don't even think that way, because it's such a force-fed fucking line. Again, you can do it. She could have easily just said, and I know I'm going to sound terrible in saying this too, oh, I can't believe that you draw every day and that you got to make a job of it. That's it. That's all she had to say. Like, it's so cool that this is what your job is. Not that, oh, because you're a girl, I can't believe that you do this all day. I can't believe they let you do this. Well, what the fuck else is she going to do? What? They're going to go out there and they're going to handcuff her to the side of a building and say, you can't draw unless you decide to be a fucking mommy, and you better not make any fucking money from it. In fact, you should just be the homemaker making everyone's meals all day and doing all this shit, and not a strong, powerful woman who can do shit on her own, but every now and then needs a little help. Like, what's the fucking message? I know it's just a small line, but it's a stupid fucking line, and it makes no sense why it's in this goddamn movie. And then you get a super smart line where she goes through, oh, Simon's fucking scary. Who's like the spider that kind of looks like the spider at the beginning of the movie, meaning that she's getting some inspiration from her dreams. And the fact that we find out that was her dad at the beginning of the movie, though we kind of see the dad in some of the flashback things, but he looks a lot younger in those images than the older guy that was there, especially since he had the weird eyes and shit like that and blood was coming out of his mouth. So it's not exactly the same, but you can kind of put two and two together. And, so you have that like connection there, and she's like, oh, he's ugly and scary, you should kill it. And then she says the fucking smart line, not all scary things are bad. That's a good fucking lesson. That's a good fucking line. You've just preceded the dumbest fucking line I've heard in a movie all fucking year, and I went and saw Longlegs, and some of the things that Nicolas Cage says in that movie are fucking stupid, right? They're funny, but they're stupid. And here you go. You fucking took the cake out of the whole thing. And I know people are going to get mad at me about the Longlegs comment, but there were some dumb things in that movie. But it's just, I just don't understand it. I really don't. And that just made me upset. Like, and it's dumb that it would make me upset. And maybe it's because of like the temperature in the room right now with everything that's going on up there. And when you put something like this into a film, if you put that specific line, and I bet you people would have been upset about the line if made the changes that even I suggest that are on there, and because people sometimes just don't give something a chance because of the way that it sounds. And I think that's why I'm more upset about it. But again, I also don't think that it needs it, because there's a lot of like things that go on with Jessica in this movie that she's using this as a cope with her trauma, right? That's why she created the book. That's why she created this Millie the Millipede type things. And that, hey, even though it's scary, the spider is actually making her stronger. And we know that Jessica is represented by Millie, and that her father is the spider, Simon, that you have in there. And, because of when he went crazy and what he's been, like, it's what he represents, right, for her. And it's cool that she's able to do something with this whole thing. But it just seems also like belittling at the same time to have that type of line in there. And like you're trying to make some social commentary in a movie about an imaginary fucking friend that goes on a supposed, well, you think it's going to go on a fucking killing spree or some shit like that. But, hey, I'll get off my fucking soapbox now and we'll continue with the movie. So they decide to go ahead and take that break. Jessica takes the break and goes plays a game with Alice over here. And they play hide and go seek where Jessica's the one to hide. And as she's about to hide inside of a closet, she gets a phone call from the publisher. And she explains to the publisher that no, she's been, lacking in inspiration. Don't worry, I'll have it done soon. And while Alice is looking around the house for Jessica, because Jessica's cheating and is fucking left to go outside, talk on the phone, she goes downstairs into the basement and runs into a box of things, and that's where she meets Chauncey for the very first time. And of course, Chauncey is the little cute teddy bear that's down there, and he's got a little coat on him, and his eyes are a little askew, and, she starts talking to Chauncey as though it were a real person.
Who left you all alone down here? Jessica can be forgetful sometimes. Do you have a name? Chauncey? I like that. There we go, Chauncey. Safe now. I'm hungry too.
I like the way that she meets him. Like I said, I think the first 20 minutes of this movie are perfectly fine. And I like that there's this whimsical music that's in the background, and that the music comes directly from the bear, right? It's all happy, and there's this exploratory type of organs that are in the background that are slowly cascading up, and it is a well done scene, right? And her going down there and talking to Chauncey and just being like, oh, what are you doing down here? And then automatically, like, it clicks with you when she's like, oh, yeah, Jessica's really forgetful about some things. And so you know that Chauncey has some connection directly to Jessica. And this is also part of where, like, I like the marketing campaign that they did before they started showing parts of the movie, where they were going to have people, like, use their imagination to figure out what things were, opposed to, like, the other trailers where you actually saw everything, right? And I really wish that the bear was kind of left up to interpretation by the audience and you never saw it in any of the trailers that were there. You could have shown the characters and different things that were going on, but I feel like the reveal here and having the scene set the way it is, I kind of wish that we never saw the bear in any of the trailers, right? So we then go, back to Jessica, who's looking for, Alice and seeing if she's around, runs into her. And she's like, nope, I found somebody else to play with. And finding out that she has an imaginary friend, to which Jessica's like, okay, cool. I can get back to work. And now Alice is left on her own. We then check up with Taylor, who is in her room, and she's looking through her, like, Instagram stories or some shit like that, and seeing all her friends back home with the hockey games that they were playing with the field hockey, and all celebrating, and the wish you were here. And so she gets upset and takes her hockey stick that she's got and throws it into the closet. And this is, like, the first time that I've seen this actress Tegan Burns, who, when this film was done, was probably actually at about the right age for the character that was playing, which is honestly pretty goddamn surprising. Like, I would have thought that they would have picked somebody that would have been in their, like, mid-20s to play this role, right? Not somebody that necessarily was around the age of the character. And it's the same thing. We're going to meet Liam for the first time in just a second, and he's about the same age. That means maybe we're finally getting towards the age of things where we don't need the 40-year-old man playing a teenager anymore. We don't need him to show up. We don't need him to be in these movies. We don't need him to grow older but still looking like he's a teenager, that he's hip, he's cool, he's with it, right? We can actually start to use actors and actresses that are roughly age appropriate to fill in these roles. But then, of course, you couldn't have them do, like, weird situations in the film. And when I say weird, I mean more like romantically. That's the reason why we tend to have those types of actors and actresses that play those roles, because if we want to have a horror movie where there's teenage camp counselors going out into the lake and getting slaughtered, if they're going to have sex, they at least need to be of age, right? So we can't have them flash their boobs on screen if they're not going to be at least in their 20s, right? If you want to get a little ball cleavage inside of your movie, you can't have a dude that's 17 and, flash that side ball. You can't really do that anymore, especially if it's about to get punctured by, like, a heel or an arrow or, all the many things that you shouldn't do to a person's dick. Anything like that, except for, self-defense stuff. That's when it's okay. So, hey, that's kind of neat. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just trying to make a dumb joke than saying that it's not neat. So Taylor, I guess, maybe wants to get back at the other kids that are posting all their selfies about how everything's great. And so she takes a selfie of herself as well. But then when she looks at the picture, she can see that there's this creepy old lady that's out there staring at the house from her window, because she's, like, smiling and showing, like, look, I'm okay, guys. I'm totally better without y'all. And then when she looks outside, the lady is supposed to be completely gone in my mind, but you can see her in the bottom right part of the screen slowly walking out of the scene. And it's like, I think it's meant to be creepy to be like, she's not there, but when you can still fucking see her as she walks off, it's fucking stupid, and it doesn't fucking work. So Taylor runs outside, and that's when she runs into the hottie next door, Liam.
You good?
Yeah, just strange lady staring at my window.
Oh, old bag Patterson? She's lived here forever. I think she tried to buy your house. She's probably just pissed she didn't get it.
Yeah, well, she can have it.
It's not all bad. Hey, you ever want a tour around town? My rates are cheap.
Well, what are you going to show me?
Well, there is a bar that doesn't check IDs.
Good to know. I always forget mine.
Hi, ma'am. I'm Liam.
Nice to meet you. You know, Taylor's only 15, so maybe you could take a tour of the mall instead. No? How about mini golf? Laser tag?
Please stop talking.
Chuck E. Cheese? Taylor, I'm sorry. Look, I was just joking. I wasn't trying to make you feel bad. Taylor.
I love too that she's like texting her, Jessica at the same time, like as she's walking upstairs, all stomping her feet and being mad at her, and like nothing you could say is going to hurt me. And I'm sure that that's foreshadowing for something later as well. But I love how she comes out there and she's like, well, she's only 15. Well, you could take her like a tour of the mall or mini golfing. Mini golfing's good. Or how about Chuck E. fucking Cheese? They're not going to let the two of them in a goddamn Chuck E. fucking Cheese without parental supervision. If they won't allow me to go in there and just get beer, they're not going to let these two kids go in there by themselves as well. Maybe if they were like 10 and they were going to hang out where there's not even a fucking... How are there no longer animatronic dancing robots at Chuck E. Cheese anymore? I'm pretty sure there's a couple places that still have them, but around here, there's not. They just decided to go the cheap route and do like video fucking screens and stuff like that and have them like fucking dance up there instead of the cool robots going up there and just kind of pressing on like a piano, but not really, and just moving with the beat of the random Chuck E. Cheese songs, like parodies that they did. Like, Chuck E. Cheese was the Weird Al of his generation making songs about pizza when it shouldn't have been about pizza. In fact, probably Weird Al. Actually, no, that's a detriment to Weird Al. There's probably some other really bad parody song comedian that's out there that probably wrote for them as well. Or it was a guy that just was like really good with dad jokes. Like, he just was like, I am the dad joke master, and I'm just going to start making parody songs that are pizza instead. And it's not like, the whole song is wrapped around, like, the idea of pizza. It's like a lyric. Like, they just go, it's my Sharona, but it's my pepperona. That type of thing. But the rest of the song's pretty much the same, except for the chorus. It talks about, eating pepperoni. So, yeah, it's not as cool as Weird Al, is what I'm trying to say. You don't get a lasagna, okay, where he totally transforms, La Bamba into a food song about lasagna over here. Okay, that lyrical genius is only reserved for Weird fucking Al. Okay, you've heard it here. That's right. I'm sticking up for the little guy, Weird Al. Seriously though, he's one of the coolest guys ever. Like. That dude is like, it's another one of those dudes when, oh God, and I have to like knock on wood because I'm talking about this right now, and I don't think that it's going to happen anytime soon, but he's going to be the other guy when he actually passes away. People are going to be like really, really hurt that the guy's gone, for one. The fans are just going to be like utterly broken about him, but you're also going to hear how he was the nicest guy on earth and nobody's ever said anything bad. Like, he's not all of a sudden going to pass away and these skeletons are just going to come out of the closet, like how he liked to beat puppies and throw them off bridges, or how he set fire to like a school with a bunch of kids inside of it and it got covered up by the US government. Like, there's never going to be giant conspiracy theories about Weird Al that are going to paint him as a bad dude, right? Everybody's just going to talk about how nice he was, how cool he was, how he loved his fans, and how he loved the people that were around him. Like, I swear there's nothing that you could say. And like, I know this is not a plug for Weird Al, but it turns into, if you haven't listened to that new polka that he did, it's goddamn funny. And especially when he covers WAP in it, it's goddamn funny. But nonetheless, not to keep tooting Weird Al's horn like some clown or anything like that. I mean, I'm a clown, but I don't want to be a crazy Weird Al stand. Even though it'd be cool if he'd talk to me for like 2 seconds, just say, "Hi, Brian," and then be done with it. I mean, it'd be like the coolest thing ever. But nonetheless, so they're getting ready for bed at this point. Taylor's all fucking upset. Max has come home, and as Jessica's getting ready in the bathroom, that's when she can hear through the HVAC in the house that Alice has made an imaginary friend, and she's really happy for her that she's letting her imagination run wild.
You know you can do breakfast for dinner, Chauncey, but you can't do dinner for breakfast.
Hey, what are you doing?
Come here. She's talking to her imaginary friend.
I love you too, Chauncey.
That's cute. I had one when I was her age. His name was Mr. Tough. He knew karate, and he could make bombs out of anything.
So, your imaginary friend was a terrorist.
Come on. Every kid has an imaginary friend. You didn't have one?
I don't think so.
Well, after everything with her mum and all the sessions with Dr. Soto, it's just nice to hear her laugh again.
Yeah.
What's up, Buttercup? You should be in bed.
You want me to read you a bedtime story?
Oh no, I'm playing hide and seek with Chauncey. He'll be looking for me soon.
Okay. I know a spot. Come on.
Well, he'll see the lump I'll make.
Not if you're smushed between us.
Okay. Careful, careful, careful.
You hear that? Someone's coming.
It's Chauncey. He's gonna find us.
Okay.
Just listen for his rumble tummy. He's always hungry.
Wait, what was that?
I didn't hear anything.
And so they're all hiding now in bed together. And it's cute and everything that she's made this imaginary friend. And, she's going to have this friend for life, or at least until she gets older, or tries to kill her. One of the few things that could happen with an imaginary friend, right? But I kind of like how this scene is also set up. Like I said, this is in the first 20 minutes of the movie. I know that I've spent an hour talking about the first 20 minutes, but hey, you're listening to this podcast, okay? And so it's good. It's decent tension for everything being set up, because you hear the feet run across the floor and what's that? And then you have Jessica looking around and trying to find everything in the dark, and she's slowly getting to the edge of the bed. It's very cliche in the way that it's done, but it's pretty goddamn effective, especially when she looks underneath the bed and then you get the jump scare for everything that's there when she gets back up, and it happens to be, Max and her. Well, it's Alice, of course, is the one that's down there screaming her head off at everything that's there. It's a good little, it's a little prank. It's a good little scare, but then we do go back to the bed and we see that Chauncey is really down there underneath the bed as well, waiting for everybody. How did the bear get there? We don't know. Oh, God, whatever. So, that part's kind of silly, but I think that the overall setup for that scene, it's cute, it's funny, and it's pretty well done. So we wake up in the morning and we see that Alice has left the bed, and when Jessica goes looking for her in her bedroom, she sees that she's sitting up in the bedroom and she's showing the book to Chauncey the bear. And she's like, that's cute. That's really good. But then she listens in on the conversation and she starts getting ideas directly from the conversation that Alice is having directly with Chauncey, which gives her inspiration to start drawing things and to turn the book kind of away, the one that she's doing in the pictures that she's making, away from just, Simon, her evil spider guy in her books, from being not necessarily, he's still going to be evil, but like she said earlier, evil people can actually do good things, and using him more in a positive role and from his perspective of how he sees Millie the Millipede. And that's when she pops up as well, and she starts asking for some stuff that she's making a list that Chauncey has given her, but she can't show her what the list is. She just needs something happy. So Jessica goes over to a little blue ball, grabs it, paints a smiley face on top of it, and says, "Here, this is something happy." And I'm like, that's not happy. that's a ball. Just because the ball's smiling doesn't mean it's happy. It could be dead inside. You don't ever know. It could be really dealing with some shit. Maybe that's the gag ball you guys use on your sex nights, okay? You know, it doesn't like necessarily being inside Max's mouth while you're pegging him, all right? Because he bites down too hard. And he's going to show that he's happy on the outside because that's all he can show. He only has one emotion. He's a fucking ball with a painted fucking face on. You know, if you turn it upside down, he's got a frown. He doesn't like there. And especially that one time that you decided to see if you could try fitting it up Max's ass. You know, he didn't like being stuck in a dark brown place, if you get my drift. You know, he had to get a shower for days and days on end, and yet he could never get rid of that fucking happy face. So the ball might not necessarily be fucking happy. It might just be, you know, crying on the inside. Okay? Just puts on a nice facade on the outside. But hey, that's what it is. So then we go and we see, you know, Jessica's, once again, she starts roaming the house, and then she goes downstairs, and she sees that there's a bunch of stuff of hers downstairs, but does see the ball downstairs with an unhappy face. So I guess it really did figure out how to change his face, and figured out what its fate's going to be later in their bedroom playing. She finds a box that used to belong to her, and has a bunch of her things of hers when she was a kid, and she finds this, like, coloring book of sorts. Like, it's a bunch of like things that she drew and stuff like that on paper, bound into like a little book, and on the top of it says never ever on it with a blue door. She then starts hearing some noises come from upstairs, so she goes and she walks towards Alice's room, and she hears that she's been playing with her like newfound friend. But then we get an appearance by somebody we've only heard of in this movie.
Would you like a scone?
Oh my God, Max. So cute. She's having tea with her imaginary friend.
It's a donut from England. Across the pond, they pronounce it scone.
She's a total daddy's girl.
Your dress is so pretty.
Thank you.
She says he's right behind you.
There's something here. I need to protect my girls.
Her name's Samantha Dooley. She's my ex-wife and the girl's mother.
How did she find out where we live?
Your oldest daughter admitted they've been texting.
Dad, I am so sorry. I shouldn't have texted Mom, and I know that, but I thought she was doing better, so I did, but
It's okay.
I just thought she was better.
So we finally get to meet the crazy ass mom for just a moment. And it's decently set up. Actually, the best part of this whole scene is honestly not the jump scare from the mom, even though it's kind of surprising, and I feel like that's also well done. Again, we're almost at the first 30 minutes of the movie now, so we've moved a little further in the movie at an hour and 22 minutes. But that's so bad. But the one that's good is that when, like, because she gets freaked out because she hears, like, you know, she says thank you, and then it's like, what the fuck was that noise? And then you see the legs like move away, and then Alice looks over at Jessica and she says, he says he's right behind you, and there's pan to the left, and then you see a figure right behind her, and it's pretty good. That's a pretty creepy done thing, and it kind of looks like Simon, the image that she drew, right? And that she's incorporating into her book. And all of a sudden, that's when she turns around, sees nothing there, and then gets attacked by the crazy-ass mother, who says, there's something here, and I have to protect my girls. So, again, this is foreshadowing for everything that's going on, and it makes you wonder, is the mom actually crazy, or what does she know? But at the same time, like, why do we even need something like this in this movie? Like, we can see she has some type of like medical wristband on her, right? And to the point that, like, did she break out of somewhere? And she obviously didn't, because, like, she's dressed normally, but she's still carrying that medical wristband. Like, did she break out of an asylum and they just allow her to, like, dress up in a nice dress and blouse type of combination? Like, it doesn't even look like she's wearing a dress, right? And I say dress blouse combination, but I meant like more like a skirt blouse combination, or whatever you want to say, blouse jeans, or some bullshit that they have out there. I don't know what they fucking wear in an insane asylum. When they just wear like a white, like, gown. Isn't that what they would have on them? Maybe it's green. Maybe in some places it's blue, but the majority of the time it's just straight white, and like her ass cheeks are just hanging out of the back. Is that what it is? But she's there. She's like to protect her girls, and she throws off fucking Jessica into the hallway, after she like tackles her as well, and then gather her girls together, and then we go outside and she's being taken away by the fucking cops. So again, like, what's the incident? What exactly happened with the whole situation? Like, did she attack her before because she was marrying into this family? Is it like a portent that's trying to show us what's going to happen in the future? Like, did she already know there was something fucked up about the past of Jessica? Like, is she some type of like psychic that can see things and feel things, and she's got some like supernatural powers? It almost makes me feel like that if we wanted to continue down this type of road with everything, we could have gotten rid of another character that's in this movie that makes no sense. I mean, it makes sense in terms of the way of the movie, but like, I feel like you could have combined these two characters together, right? And we'll meet the crazy old biddy, the dumb old biddy next door, right? That used to be the babysitter of Jessica. We'll meet her in just a little bit as well, but it's like, why do we have her and then these small scenes of the crazy mother? Right? I almost feel like the mother should be involved more, or be, like I said, morphed in between those two roles. Like, she doesn't need to show up towards the end of the movie, but in the capacity that the mom does, because the mom is going to come back at some point in here. But to the point that she does, she doesn't necessarily need to go with them to do whatever they're doing towards the end of the movie. And it could be that, she attacked her before because she knew of this thing, and even though like they divorced on amicable terms, or whatever the fuck it is that you have, why they're divorced and why he has custody of the kids, even though we know that the mom did something to Alice, right? Because her arm is completely fucked up and has scars on top of it, which was supposedly caused by the mom. But is it because she knows more of the world and what's going on in this world with the imaginary friends? Like, there's a lot of conjecture that you can have there, but nothing really is solid. And the movie doesn't do a good job, except for maybe this little scene. And then, in the beginning when they're talking about the incident, that maybe she knows. I just don't know. If I'm to take it with a grain of salt and I'm to take the movie on its face value, I'm saying that something is missing from the final version of this film, and that there may be a cutscene somewhere where, they kind of went back and maybe they said the mom was talking about how she doesn't want her daughter to have an imaginary friend because she knows the truth about them because of childhood trauma and past experience that she had, right? That could be something along those lines, but I don't know. I really don't. And I feel like if we did explore that, maybe there would be more weight to what's going on here. Because otherwise, this just feels like a random scene in the movie. It doesn't feel like I said, it doesn't have any weight towards how everything is going to end up in this movie. All we're really getting is, ooh, mom's dangerous and kind of crazy. Like, that's it. I just want more. I just want more out of it. And like I said, when we get to talking about the old lady and Gloria and stuff, and especially like the significance that she holds for this movie, I really do wish that they would have just combined the two characters completely. And I think it would have been fine, and I wouldn't have been as, I guess, upset with the whole situation. So anyway, so Jessica decides to go check in on Alice to see what's up, and she basically tells the story that, hey, she has had an imaginary friend too.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Really? You weren't scared?
When Mommy was in my room, Chauncey made her look really pretty for me. He said he might do that for me sometime. Make these disappear.
I have scars too. And I'm gonna have them my whole life. But that's okay. You know why?
Why?
Because they become a part of who you are, a part of your story. And it's okay to feel scared.
Thanks, but I really wasn't scared. I have Chauncey. He keeps me safe. He told me to understand. He said you had a friend just like him.
So she's kind of weirded out because she's like, I don't remember having an imaginary friend. What do you mean? Chauncey knows something about me? What does that bear know? Why did that bear say that name? Oh, wait, that's something completely different. So they all just decide to go ahead and get ready for bed after the crazy night with Mom being inside the house. And she once again overhears Alice talking through the HVAC system. And in talking with Max as well, she believes that maybe an imaginary friend is exactly what Alice needs, something to help her get through the trauma right now while she's learning how to deal with it. But they do need to talk with her, and maybe this is the best for her at the moment, to which Max agrees. And part of it's kind of I get it a little bit. There's a little bit of escapism is okay every now and then. Everybody escapes into something. You either escape into books or music or movies or the warmth of another man. Something just to get you away from what you're feeling at the current time, right? Everybody does that. I mean, there's nothing better than a big giant bear hug every now and then, right? Supple hands, nice hairy chest, something that everybody really enjoys. And so Max, like I said, he kind of agrees with it, but he thinks that, after he comes back, because he's going to be going out on a tour, that maybe they can handle it directly together with Alice to help her cope with everything that's going on and allow her to talk some more. So the morning comes and she's busy working in the backyard as Alice once again approaches her to collect some more items for her little game that she's put together with Chauncey.
Hey, guess who's working on a Simon the Spider book? The publisher liked the idea of telling the story from Simon's point of view. What do you think?
Simon doesn't seem so scary anymore. More sad. I like it. Can I have another paintbrush, please? It's for my game.
Here go, Chauncey.
Thank you.
There.
Thanks. But don't you want to sign your artwork first?
I use a little bitty brush to do that. Like this.
Thank you again, Jessica.
Have fun.
Are you absolutely sure I can still bail on this tour?
Go. Things are good. Taylor and I are finding our stride. Alice is in a better place.
Thanks to you. You're helping them find their happiness again.
You learn too much.
Hey.
Bye.
Bye. Look after your sister, okay? Okay.
It's gonna be great, and I need this time with them.
So it's weird because we keep looking at the list that Alice has, and it's very familiar to the list that was at the beginning of the movie that she was dreaming of. Also, it's weird, too, that, Alice is all of a sudden being she looks at Simon, she's like, oh, he's not so scary anymore. He's kind of sad. And I really like it. Are you going to grow up to be Lydia Dietz? All of a sudden, are you going to start, hanging out with other people, dressing in weird spider print dresses, dyeing your hair black, deciding to hook up with a guy named Beetlejuice, only to realize that it's not exactly what you thought it was meant up to be when you're going to have to marry the guy and do some weird dance with a bunch of statues that your parents put together? Am I reaching too much in thinking that? Probably reaching quite a bit. But it's just, it seems odd, but it also seems as a direct reflection to Chauncey, right? And supposedly her imaginary friend helping her out in creating these, helping her out, helping her help Jessica. There's a lot of helping going on here. And creating this new story with Simon being the center of everything. And I think that's what's actually more making her happy than the fact that Simon looks sad now in this story. So Then you have Max leaving, and Max is like, is it okay if I go on tour? And of course, this is going to be one of those movies where the dad's just not involved at all with anything that's going on with anybody in the film. Oh, you girls need to bond, and so you know what? I'm just going to leave completely and not know anything that's going on. So if anything weird happens, like, let's say the house burns down or something like that, and none of you can, explain it in any type of way that I would understand and I'd be okay with, I'm going to totally accept it because I just wasn't here and I'm totally going to believe you guys. Just like what I expected. I don't get in a lot of these films, like, there's a vibe, again, of so many different movies in this movie, right? I get there's a Poltergeist kind of vibe with everything that's going on, but I don't really feel Poltergeist in this movie at all because I don't feel like it's a spirit type of thing. It's a haunting, none of that, right? And it feels whimsical, to be honest with you, especially the beginning of this. Everything seems relatively happy. The music is very whimsical. It's not very foreboding. Everything is light pianos or music box style stuff of everything that's going on. And again, in Poltergeist, and especially what the director said, he wanted to, because you feel for the family. I don't feel for shit with anything that's going on in this movie. And please excuse any sounds of neighborhood children playing outside because this place is fucking hot and I got to keep the windows open. And I'm going to say that right now in the middle of the podcast. But it's like we have this family that you feel for the struggle for Jessica. No doubt. Do you feel for Jessica, right? I don't give a shit about Taylor. Taylor's kind of a bitch. Right? Is she going to change? Probably. I mean, if there's going to be a cliche, and we've already heard the cliche towards the beginning of the movie, where it's like, oh, don't worry, there's going to be something that brings you guys together, and they're going to show their love for you. But I'm not going to give a shit about Taylor if she doesn't, straighten up and fly right before the last, 30 minutes of the movie, or there isn't something that she deals with internally as some, big issue that only Jessica can handle and expresses her love that way. Eventually, yeah, but this feels like that type of movie, especially as I was watching it, that it's going to happen towards the end of the movie. The end. The last 10 minutes of this movie is when it's finally going to fucking happen, right? That eventually they're going to get into the situation. We all know that Alice is going to get kidnapped, that she's going to be the one to help Jessica. They're going to do whatever they can do, and by rescuing Alice, they're going to become closer together, and there's something that she's going to do towards the end of the movie that's really going to confirm that bond of her, really loving Jessica in her own way and being that mother figure to her that she doesn't have right now and accepting her as that mother figure, right? But I just want growth, and there isn't any growth with this character. There hasn't been so far. I don't care about the dad because the dad's he's fucking gone. If he just randomly showed up again in the middle of the movie, towards the end of the movie, decided, you know what, I'm cutting things short because I didn't feel right, and then came back into the situation that was going on here, that's fine. And I think that's a problem that you don't have the ex-wife involved with the character that we've got coming up in just a moment, which is the dumb old biddy that's here. And if you combine them, there'd be more of a reason for him to be around, but without having the ex-wife having any major significance other than that the kids, especially the older daughter, as we see, because, she's the one that kept in contact with her. She's the one that had her come to the house and thought everything was all right. She has that deep connection to the mom because she also wasn't abused by the mom, right? So she's got some, loving connection, some, flowery nonsense is there. Whereas we heard even from Alice, she wasn't fazed by the whole thing. Oh, yeah, mom's here, but she knows that mom did bad stuff to her, so she was kind of more seems like placating her mom and wanting to see her, but not wanting to be close to her at the same time. But she has this more mother relationship with Alice in this whole situation, right? So the bond between Alice and Jessica, I guess as an audience, you can kind of have some feeling towards, but I still just don't give a shit. I honestly, the only person that I kind of give a shit about is Jessica. And Jessica, well, I think the actress does a really good job in the role of Jessica, right? Overall, it's good. And I'm saying this honestly, right now, I'm going to say this with the highest compliments I can give, because I think the actress I'm going to compare her to is an absolutely amazing actress, especially she's gotten older. Like, she's been, hands down, she's done some of my favorite roles that I've seen her do in the longest time. And she reminds me of a young Angela Bassett in the way that she's doing the role, in the way that she's handling the character. I think it's pretty solid in general. But at the same time, it's like an imitation of Angela Bassett, right? She doesn't make it her own. Like, she really is just trying to play one of Angela Bassett's younger characters and put it into this film. Like, we need Angela Bassett for this movie, but we need somebody that's a lot younger than she is, even though black don't crack, right? Because Angela Bassett still looks fucking amazing and could play this role and be perfectly fine in this role for what it is, right? But you're getting a younger actress and yada, 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 yada. And so there's just these moments where it's more of her being like a badass than her being relatable, if you kind of understand what I'm saying. And that's where, like, while I kind of care for Jessica, I still don't 100% give a shit. Like, if anything happened, because there's just going to be dumb decisions that get made, and there's weird things that are going on, questionable stuff about the life, and why doesn't she remember this stuff? And yeah, I know we're going to get revelations and everything as we get towards the end of the film, but I just feel like there needs to be just something more in between all of them. Like, even if you had the sit down, you kind of have the conversation. This is where I say, between Alice and Jessica, I do kind of care about the relationship, because they actually just had the sit down. The fact that we're similar because we both have scars, and the scars are going to stay with us forever, but it doesn't ruin our life or rule our life, right? Like, that conversation that she has with her is a grown-up conversation, and is a conversation that a mother should have with a daughter, right? To basically bring her to ease. That's good. So you do kind of care about them, and there is this building, but they're the only two that you can even give two shits about in this movie. And even the way that everything's going, as an audience member myself, I just kind of don't feel that way. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just me, and I'm the one that feels that way. Maybe other people don't, but just kind of putting everything together at this point, yeah, I can see you can have that connection. But there's just some weird things that go on towards the end of this movie that I'm just kind of like, it kind of ruins it for me. And maybe that's why, even going back through this, I don't feel as much as I kind of did the first time I saw it. So anyway, Max says, fuck you guys, I'm going on tour to do blows and hookers and everything like that. That's what they call it in the streets, right? Blows? You know, that's what it is. It's not just me adding an S to a word when I'm trying to say something else. No, of course not. It's never going to be anything like that. But, you know, he leaves, and that's when Jessica is approached by the next door neighbor that we heard about earlier when, you know, Taylor met Liam out there in the streets because she wanted to be a freak in the sheets. And she's actually approaching the house this time to talk with Jessica because, well, get this. This dumb old biddy used to be Jessica's babysitter back in the day and wanted to reconnect with her in some way, and there's no way in hell that she could be anything else, right? She doesn't know anything else that's going on, because she's not acting odd at all, is she?
I just love your art.
Thank you. I don't believe we met. I'm
Jessica. I'm Gloria. I was your babysitter years ago.
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
No, of course. You were so little and you moved away so quickly. I never got a chance to say a proper goodbye. I'm a writer too, you know.
Oh, lovely. What do you write?
Oh, nothing as creative as you. Just scholarly volumes, self-published. Not big sellers.
Oh, please.
You were such a creative little girl. Well, I'm sure your stepdaughters...
Yes.
Are the same.
Yeah. The younger one, Alice, she's very creative. She even has this brand new imaginary friend, if you can even call it that. It's a stuffed animal. I'm not sure if that counts.
No, of course it counts. So Alice is just like you then. You are always drawing and inventing new games and playing with your imaginary friend. You almost sometimes had me convinced that he was real.
Thank you for the kind words about my books.
I'm sorry I was being a bit of a chatty Cathy there.
It's fine. What are your grandkids' names so I can get them some signed copies?
Oh, no grandkids, no kids. I'm just your fan. Your dad was too, you know. I understand he was unwell after your mother died. But you should know he would devour your books. Read right up there on that porch. Just lost in your stories. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring up such a complicated subject. No child should ever have to go through what you did.
Hey, Jessica, I'm hungry. Can you please make me some lunch now?
Patience, sweetie. Miss Jessica and I were almost done talking.
Chauncey's hungry too. Maybe he'll eat you for lunch.
Oh, you think so, do you? Oh, I just love children's imaginations. What I don't love is when they get so violent.
Jess, you gonna make Alice's lunch or am I gonna have to?
Oh, my God.
Duty calls. Well, it was nice to meet you again.
Okay, like, come on. Is this, like, telegraphed more than anything else in this movie? Like, especially the way that she's acting. Oh, I used to be your babysitter, and you always had such a great imagination. It was always just running wild and being all over the place, and used to try to go places and do things. And oh, I didn't mean to talk about your father, who you have a strained relationship with, that you were taken away from because he went fucking insane, but he always read your books all the time, and it was like he was trying to like peer into your soul and try to go somewhere else because it reminded him of something else that was going on that happened to you when you were a kid, but we didn't know anything about it. I was just your babysitter. You'd always tell me about everything that you knew. Oh, she's got an imaginary friend. You had one too. I'm kind of a scholar. I wrote books, but none of them as popular as yours. I'm just a fan. Like, come on. Really? This is the way that we're going to, like, get to these things and how we're going to do this stuff? Like, it's just... You know, the first thought that I had, and I can't believe that, like, the outcome that actually happens with this character in terms of like where my thoughts went and where this character goes. I honestly thought at this point, because of this performance, that was the imaginary friend. That she just somehow can walk around in the world and was like trying to tempt her in some way, shape, or possible. Like trying to get under her skin and be like, you know, oh, Alice is as imaginary as you. Don't you mean has an imagination? No, I mean imaginary. I don't think you guys are real. This acid is really, really strong, and I'm starting to come down just a little bit, and I think I'm seeing crab people. They talk like people, but they taste like crab. They're crab people. They're very good. Yeah. I also think I'm seeing a pink dog with Britney Spears' head. I think this acid's bad, man. I'm gonna go home and call up my Friday friend. I think he can help bring me down, if you know what I mean. I mean, you know, when we get this old, we gotta have somebody that comes around and cleans our belfries, you know, if you know what I'm saying. And he makes some really good shit, and that keeps me going. It's better than a pacemaker. I swear. Are you really real? Are you? I think this conversation's done here. Creepy old lady. I'm gonna go back to recording my podcast now, and I think the dogs need some tender loving care, and I'd like to finish this before it hits 5 hours. So if you could come down off your high on somebody else's podcast. Oh, the snozberries taste like snozberries. When did we get into Willy Wonka territory? Why are you licking my wall? There's nothing on there. Shoo, old lady, shoo, before I sick the cats on you, shoo. Shoo! Oh, it's so beautiful. Yeah, just walk out that window and it'll continue to be beautiful, and, I won't have to deal with you anymore. So off you go. It's just, I just feel it's so telegraphed that she's somehow involved and that she knows more than she's letting on. She came by the house and was seen in the window. Yeah, it's just, it is what it is. So she goes back, she fixes good old Alice some lunch, and she tells Taylor, "Hey, I'm gonna go visit my dad in the old folks home or hospice care or wherever the fuck he's at. He's somewhere in some type of assisted living facility somewhere." And that, of course, while she's gone, you don't do anything weird or don't bring anybody over to this house. So she leaves to go and see dear old dad. And so we have Taylor then checking up on Alice, who's outside doing some type of weird collecting.
The nurse told me you started a new medication, and they seem optimistic. I brought your old camcorder. The movies are so cool. I don't understand. I know we were happy once. How could you just change? I'm your baby girl. How could you let them take me?
No good. You're here. Did you bring my dinner? You're not my nurse. He's supposed to be here with my food.
Yo, Alley Cat, what you doing?
It's for my scavenger hunt.
Ugh, that bugs freaked you out.
That's why Chauncey put them on my list. He said I needed to show him how brave I could be. Don't tell Dad or Jess, but if I can finish my list, Chauncey will take me on a trip to the place he's from.
Tell you what, Alley Cat, you have fun with your friend, and I'll have fun with mine.
Okay, so she decides that, she got cock-blocked earlier by Jessica, that now is the perfect time because she's supposed to be watching her sister while her sister's outside with a, fly trap collecting bugs to be some, magical adventure that she's going to go on with her friend that's going to take her to his magical, place that whatever it is by collecting dead bugs that, hey, that's cool. Time for me to go get some dick. Come on. Really? Again, I'm supposed to care about Taylor? Fuck this bitch. Come on, take care of your sister. I understand you're a teenager and teenagers do teenager things and you see the cute boy next door. It's time to invite him over and all this shit. But come on. And then, of course, when we get to see, Jessica with Ben, her dad, he's just kind of comatose, doesn't really know where everything's going, thinks that she's the nurse that's supposed to bring him her food, and then kind of recognizes that might actually be his daughter, except for we know, dad's still kind of fucking crazy.
Simon had the worst of intentions, waiting for the lights to go out. Lights out. Okay. I should head back to the house.
What else?
Our old house. I moved in with my husband Max and his 2 girls, remember?
Jess, that you?
Yes. Yes, Daddy, it's me.
Nobody will believe me. I looked into their eyes. To tell them where you went, you disappeared.
Daddy, I didn't disappear. I went to live with Grandma. You know that.
Stop touching. Stop with talking that CB. You always talking that CB.
Daddy, what's CB? A radio? What?
He on CB. He on CB.
Daddy, stop! You're hurting me!
Okay. He's all right. He's fine. You okay?
Sorry, I should go.
Okay, so the one thing before we really get into this scene that I forgot to talk about is the fact that Liam does come over And when he does come over, he kind of like messes with Alice for a little bit, like looking at her jar, like her bug jar. And then she basically says, I don't like you. And Chauncey doesn't like you either. And then he like mouths to her that she's a psycho. But then she's like, Taylor's like, so what do you want to do? You want to watch movies? And he's like, how about we do something else? And he unrolls a baggie and he's like, got like supposedly Molly and he's got one on his tongue. But we're going to learn him what that Molly exactly is a little later on in the film. And so like basically douchebag comes over because she wants like hang out and be like with the cool boy and like maybe hook up with him, but not hook up with him in that way because this is PG-13 and they're actually teenagers, right? So they're not going to like do anything. We're not going to get any like kills while they're making out, or she decides to go, we're not going to have like a sex-filled romp with like young people or anything like that. We're not going to get that. Instead, we're going to actually get them watching TV and eventually him like trying to get into the liquor cabinet. But that happens after, of course, when we went back to the hospital and we got the scene that I played where she's reading the book to her dad and her dad realizes that, yeah, she's actually his daughter. And then he says this weird shit about looking into the eyes and CB, whoever the fuck CB is, right? Who we're going to find out. And what drives me crazy here is that while you're watching this, it is kind of, I'm not going to say it's an interesting scene, but it is a little bit of a mystery. But I also didn't realize that so much shit just gets spelled out right in front of your fucking face in the scene to the point that they tell you exactly how he fucking went crazy. I'm not going to say it right here, where we will say it later on in the film when, Jessica finally realizes the reason why it happened and everything happened. It's just like, this is the shit that I'm talking about, okay? I complain a lot that there isn't nuggets and there isn't things and they need to spell some things out just a little bit more and do it. But this is the exact opposite of what I want. I don't want them to tell me exactly what happened. Like, say a couple things. Like, say, stop talking to CB. You need to stop talking. You don't have to say exactly what he did, right? I looked into its eyes and I went to save you. You disappeared on me and you keep talking to that CB. Stop to that CB. Is it a tiny bit vague? Because you don't know who CB is. You don't know what the looking into the eyes are. So yeah, it kind of is. But it just laid everything down right in front of you. It just told you to your face what happened to Ben, right? And that kind of sucks. Like, you can have him be, absent-minded, crazy, dementia, whatever you think it is, or just a little bit crazy, kind of just like, and here's the parallels between Jessica and Alice once again, right? Alice has a crazy mom. Jessica has a crazy dad, But, of course, Jessica doesn't have a mom, though Alice has both of her parents, just one is fucking crazy. They both, abuse them in some way, shape, or form. That's what we're led to believe with everything that went on with Jessica, right? And the reason that she has the scars on her arm, even though she still loves her dad, even if he did do something to her, and it would be the same thing, I guess, that she's trying to say to Alice, is that, she's not right in the head, and so what she did to you isn't necessarily a meaning of her not loving you and not, wanting to take care of you. It's just that she wasn't doing well. So it's, again, like that part is interesting, and that's just interpretation that you're kind of getting with the whole thing, right? But where it is with her dad himself, it's straight up just telling you. Like, it's a Paula Abdul song, right? It's just, that's the way it is. It's saying exactly what happened to him, how it happened to him, and just because she doesn't understand it doesn't mean that the audience isn't necessarily going to pick it up in the scene that we have here. So while, again, I do like it, like some little things being spilled out just here or there. All it has to be is just a little small nugget. That's all it has to be. And with the mom, we get, and I think that you have to have like 5 nuggets, right, to really explain a situation, instead of having one large nugget that tells you everything, right? So with the mom, we only have 3 nuggets. I would say 3 total small nuggets. She crazy, her arms damaged, and, she came back to the house to protect them. So they all have something related to each other. Well, to protect the girls, not to necessarily protect Jessica or Max in this situation. But nobody gives a shit about Max because Max doesn't even give a shit about staying around and helping out and everything. Oh, are you sure that I can go on this tour? You know what that means? Means I don't want to be around you three bitches at all, and I want to go on this tour, but I'm just being nice and saying, oh, is it okay if I really go? Are you sure? You know, I'd rather be here with you instead of going and touring and being with all these musician guys and doing a ton of blow and fucking a lot of hookers and maybe going and getting caught in a Taiwanese prison. But, you know, that's not as fun as staying home with you girls and bonding as a family. That would be way more fun than anything else in the world. That's just the way that it is. I totally think that I should do that. No, hon. Are you sure? Are you sure? Sure. I mean, we don't have to go. I don't have to go right now. Maybe I might be missing by. So let me get my stuff together. Oh, I think I've got a bunch of random condoms I need to bring with me. I mean, I'm not bringing any condoms. Don't worry about it. I mean, I really want to say that. No, you sure can go? I'm gonna go. Okay, I'm gonna just go. I'm gonna bye, guys. Bye. Like that's the type of person that I'm putting on Max, even though he's relatively nice guy for the times that he's in this movie. So this is when we go back over to the house and we see that, you know, good old Liam and freaking Taylor, they're hanging out over there. And that's when, you know, Taylor decides that he wants to get up and get something. And he notices that they've got a bunch of liquor over there in the cabinet because they want to do something fun because she's forcing him to watch Twilight. I would also want to get drunk off my ass or high off my ass if I was being forced to watch Twilight by somebody, okay? I only got time for one sparkling vampire in my life, and he belongs in a video game. He doesn't belong in front of my face, and he doesn't, you know, turn into fucking fairy dust whenever he gets hit by sunlight, or he's not going to get jealous that a werewolf wants to fuck my girlfriend, then be okay with later on that the werewolf imprints himself and is going to be my daughter's fucking boyfriend right when she's fucking born. Yeah, okay, if you don't know anything about the Twilight books or the Twilight story, that's something that's fucking real, all right? So there, I ruined a lot about Jacob for you. He's a goddamn wolfophile, okay? Or vampirephile, whatever you want to call him. He decides that when a baby is born, that's going to be the one he's going to love forever, and everybody's totally fucking cool with it. Fuck that. Nonetheless, so he decides that he wants to go in the liquor cabinet, he wants to go get something to drink, and when he does, and he pulls out the JD and he pulls out some other type of vodka, he drops the perfectly good vodka onto the floor. And he's like, dude, you could just pour water in this. They'll never know, or put apple juice. They'll never know that we've drank a bunch of the liquor, because Taylor's all scared and she's becoming a good girl, you know, even though she got the bad boy coming over to her house that's talking about the bars that don't check IDs and shit like that, because she wants to be seen like a bad girl, you know, and he's kind of a cute guy, but deep down she's really a nice girl and she doesn't do those types of things. Yeah. So he, you know, ends up dropping one of the bottles. She gets mad at him, tells him to go upstairs and get some towels so they can clean it up. And that's when he goes upstairs and he goes into the bedroom of Alice because he hears some random noises. And in that bedroom, there's like, you ever see one of those like star showers they have for rooms? Like they project a star like thing up on the sky. And in the olden days, there used to be this thing where you would put like a candle inside and you'd spin it, and then on the wall you would see like an image of a man running or something because it would spin and it would do like an animation. Well, nowadays they have the ones that are like, they're holes, and as it spins the lights go around the room and it's different shapes on the wall. Well, anyway, he sees that and it's got all these things, and of course a bear is one of the stupid little images that are in the cutouts and everything of the damn freaking thing. So he sees it, he decides to go over and touch it and turn it off, and when he turns it off, he hears a voice that sounds like Alice's, but it's kind of distorted, that says, "Don't touch Alice's stuff." And he like kind of get freaked out, and he decides, oh, I need to go into the bathroom and get the towels. So he goes in the bathroom, starts to take a piss, then all of a sudden he starts to hear the same creepy music, and he looks over, and then like the pull cord from, you know, Chauncey starts going up the side of the wall, you know, or the sink wall that's down there, and it freaks him out a little bit because all of a sudden the towels underneath it is a shape of a bear that wasn't there before. So he pisses all over himself, pisses all over his hands, pisses all over the toilet seat, pisses all over his jeans, and then he looks around and he does the one thing that you should never do after you take a piss, especially if you pee on yourself. Just wipe your hands on the fucking towels. Wash that shit. Lávate los manos. Come on, you know that rule. You don't fucking pee and then just fucking walk out of there. If you're gonna even be lazy, at least fucking baby bird it. Just run it out of the water and like rub your hands for like 2 seconds. But what you really should be doing is taking some fucking soap and actually getting in there. Like I said, lávate los manos, motherfucker. Like get in there, wash them fucking hands. You know, count to 5, you know, do the alphabet while you're washing your hands. Just do something. Otherwise, your hands are just going to stink like pee. And especially if you're the stoner or drunk that you think you are, it's going to smell like something worse than fucking asparagus, right? So you're just going to do that? Then you're just going to fucking wipe your hands on the goddamn towel, not even putting water on them to wash the urine. Somebody's going to go use that and fucking clean themselves later, and you just put your fucking pee all over the goddamn place? What kind of fucking monster are you? All right? I hope this bear eats your fucking dick off. This is the one time I'm giving, this is not self-defense, I'm giving a pass on this one. If that bear decides to come to life and it wants to do something, it better eat your fucking dick off because you don't deserve it anymore because you won't wash your hands after you fucking touch your dick and make everybody else's life 100% fucking worse than it already is right now. Because knowing you, you're not going to use that towel to soap up the fucking, you know, vodka. Instead, you're going to give it over to Taylor and say, oops, I'm sorry, I dropped something on you here. And then it's probably not just pee on your fucking hands when you're touching your dick, because you're the type of boy that uses a condom because he hasn't gotten laid yet, and he decides that the best way to fucking jerk off is to use the condoms that are expiring that he bought, you know, 2 years ago that he's never used before because he wants to know what it feels like to jerk off into a rubber, and then you get cum all over your fucking hands, and the crust cum is still stuck on your fucking dick, so you're like busy out there fucking peeing with cum hands on you and cum dick in your hands, and then you're gonna go rub it over that fucking towel? Fuck you, you asshole. So you get whatever's fucking coming to you. This is the one time in the movie that I agree with Chauncey. Eat his fucking ass. And so that's basically what we've got happening in the next scene. Is that he goes in the hallway, and then you get the scene from the trailer. Again, I hate it when you get scenes like this in horror movies with trailers, right? Because it kind of ruins everything that's there. You don't necessarily, it might not be exactly it, but it is literally the same fucking scene from the trailer, just in the goddamn movie. Nothing is changed about it. So he goes out into the hallway, and there, you know, he starts hearing noises, and there's a shot with the weird spider dude, the guy that looks like Simon, like behind him in a blackened shadow. And then down the hallway, there is Chauncey the bear covered in the little baby blanket from Alice. And then you see that the pull cord is right underneath him, and it starts going down the hallway as it's playing the melody. He steps on the pull cord, and then the bear starts like moving towards him. He starts freaking out, and then he steps off of the little pull cord, and then it races down the hallway to where it then suddenly the bear on the ground rushes him and becomes the giant fucking scary bear that's there that attacks him. Oh my God, it's got so much teeth. It's just big and fucking scary. And it's honestly, it would have been a better jump scare if it didn't happen in the trailer. And honestly, the bear itself looks pretty goddamn scary. Like, it's got multiple rows of teeth. A lot of the teeth are like curved in like daggers and everything like that. It's done pretty well. I like the way this looks, but it's so quick, and it's the only thing that's like CGI in the whole fucking movie. And I wish that this might have been like an actual physical thing instead. Like, if this was practical effects and it looked like that, and all of a sudden like the transformation was done in like the CGI, but then like it following him and pushing him down was actually a puppet. And if it is, then that's pretty fucking impressive. If it's a costume or something like that. It's like, side note, I'm talking about a different movie for a second. Has anybody ever seen Smile and seen like the monster in that film? That is fucking amazing if you watch the behind the scenes, because that monster I thought was CGI in its full practical effects. In some of the behind the scenes stuff, they show how they got that scene done, and it's fucking cool. So I wish that was this instead, because what we do get that's practical is really fucking laughable. It's ridiculous in the way that it's done. So he falls back. He probably pisses his cum dick once again. And that's when, Taylor comes upstairs and is like, why do you have Alice's blanket? And he's like freaking out and everything. And of course, at this point, Jessica comes home and he thinks it's all just the acid, bringing him down. So, or the Molly or whatever it is. And so, of course, we find out that, Liam is just a complete dumbass because that Molly is not what we thought it was.
I've had a really long day. I come home and find your son giving Molly to my 15-year-old.
I'm sorry, this isn't Molly. This is my allergy medicine. Get back to the house, you idiot. Now!
What are you gonna do? Taylor, I am really trying to trust you. Just no more guests without my permission ever.
I already said I'm sorry. How many more times do you want to hear me say it? I swear that was not me. But I don't know why Liam would have destroyed you.
I don't think it was Liam. Or you.
So, of course, it's not Molly. It's just allergy medicine that he has. And he's just going through some, psychosomatic thing where, it must be Molly. So I'm going to be cool. And then he's going to give it to her and she's going to trip out. And then maybe I'm going to either make fun of her because I know what it is. Or I've been selling it at school, telling people it's Molly and people are actually tripping. Or I took it once and I thought I was tripping and he's not real tripping. Like, he's trying to get her to be like, I feel what he was trying to do. He's trying to get her to take it so that she would feel like she's on it or pretend like she's on it because it's all going to be in her head, and then he would take advantage of her, right? Like, hey, this is the easiest way to get into her pants if she believes that this is really Molly, because the look on his face when she says that, his mom calls him an idiot, it's like, oh shit, I've been found out type of face. And then all of a sudden he looks over at Alice, and it's funny too because then she mouths to him, psycho, which you can kind of hear in the clip as well, right? And it's just, that's a good callback. And I like the way that it's done. And that's one of those parts in the scenes where I like Alice's actress and what she's doing. If she has more subdued stuff, kind of what she's done, it's great. It's when she starts to get emotional that it becomes kind of funny, to be honest with you. So when they go back into the studio to see what, because she wants to go look at her paintings and everything and continue working after she's had some shit with her father attacking her in the fucking hospital, thinking that she's some type of monster or some shit like that. She goes into her art studio and she notices that the head of Simon has been ripped off, and that's something that Alice has probably collected for her little scavenger hunt that she's doing all over the house and all the pieces that she's getting together. So Jessica decides it's time to go and confront Alice and see why she did exactly what she did, but something seems odd at the end of it.
Come on, sweetie. I get it. What happened, that should never have happened. And I know you're angry with me. I get angry too sometimes and rip up my own paintings when I want to feel something big, when I need to feel something new. But it's never okay to rip up someone else's stuff. When I was little, after my mom died, my dad, they said his brain got sick and he stopped acting like himself. And one terrible night, he got really angry. And they made me leave this house, leave the happiest place I ever knew. And you should never have to say goodbye to the things you love. So I just need you to know that none of this is your fault, okay? None of it. You deserve to feel safe and loved. And I thought because of what was taken from me that I could never be a good mom. But then I met you and your sister. And oh, honey, the way I love you both made me think that maybe I could.
So she's like bearing her heart out over there to Alice, like basically telling her that, you know, she understands what she's doing and that maybe she's mad and that she shouldn't rip up these things, but she understands how she feels. And she tells the story about her father and how her father went crazy and did something, but won't exactly say what. And we're led to assume that she's her dad's the reason she's got the scars on her arm. And, you know, but he's talking about like looking into eyes and shit, and that's what it was, and CB and what the fuck it is. And if you don't know what CB is, you should have figured it out already, okay? But nonetheless, so, you know, she's going off and giving her heartfelt thing, and then she hears something from the backyard, and she looks out the window, and there's Alice ripping a board from the fence and then taking it over to a table, and then she goes over to the blankets on the bed and throws them over, and who's there? But Chauncey. So that bear is the one that's just sitting there and listening to the whole story of everything's there. So then we get another scene from the trailer that we have with Alice and the board and a nail. And she's there talking to Chauncey because Chauncey's basically telling her that she needs to take her hand and put it through the nail, right? And then, of course, the list is there inside the room, so Jessica goes and looks at the list, and there's a bunch of things that are there. Something that'll, you know, that you're scared of, something that'll get you in trouble, and then another one says something that'll hurt you. And all of a sudden, as she's looking at that, and there's also something that makes you mad as well as on the list, and we see, again, the weird spider person is there in the background looking at Jessica. And then we go to Alice in the backyard, and she's just about to slam her hand through the nail. And when she's about to do that, that's when Jessica comes in and saves the day and swats that shit out of the way, saving her, but she does get a little scratch on her hand. She then calls Max that evening and is just like, look, we need to do something about her because there's something definitely wrong with Alice, right? Not everything is right with her. She's going through a lot of stuff, and she's doing things that she wouldn't normally do, and it's best if we call up the therapist that she previously had, which is what she does. And we see that Alice is looking down on Jessica as she's talking to her, and she's also looking back at Chauncey that happens to be hanging out with her right there. The next morning, the therapist comes to the house and decides that she needs to get some one-on-one time with, you know, Alice to make sure that she can perfectly lay everything out to her directly. So she brings her into the room. Alice says, hey, I need to bring Chauncey in here. Can he be in here with me? Therapist says, sure, not a problem. Brings her in, and then we have the therapy session with both Alice and Chauncey.
So why don't you tell me about Chauncey?
He loves me a lot. He's always hungry. My favorite thing is his eyes. I can see anything I can imagine in them.
But then he asked you to do something. Something that hurt you, right?
Chauncey said it was part of the game.
That's right. The scavenger hunt. But does that seem like a game a good friend would want to play?
Chauncey doesn't want me to talk about that. Nobody else was supposed to see the list but us.
I understand. Maybe you should tell Chauncey how he made you feel. Go ahead, Alice.
Chauncey? It really scared me. I didn't want to hurt my hand. Just for fun. But I told you it made me scared. Chauncey need Alice be brave. Chauncey keep Alice safe. I just want to go back to having fun, like we did before. No, go back. New things to see. Never, ever, never, ever.
Let's pause there, Alice.
You said that you loved me. Nobody loved Alice. That's mean. Chauncey not mean. Fake mommy mean. Fake mommy will leave. You're lying. Fake mommy always leave. Only Chauncey love Alice. Always.
Okay, let's explore these thoughts, Alice. Why do you think Jessica wants to leave?
Fake mommy bad. Fake mommy cruel. Fake mommy hurt true friends. That's not true. Don't say that.
Let's talk about this anger you're feeling towards Jessica.
Maybe we shouldn't play together anymore, Chauncey. No. Maybe we shouldn't be friends. No, 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 no!
Let's take a time out, Alice. Now.
Stupid doctors say anything to Alice, Mom. I hurt you and your 3 ugly granddaughters.
So, this scene is meant to be like kind of intense in the way that it goes, but it's just kind of laughably bad, and it's when she gets emotional. And I feel bad because it's a child actress, and I shouldn't be talking shit about her because it's just a child actress, and, you know, they're trying the best they can, but it's what it is. I mean, I like it when she's, like, sassy and everything. Like, it's perfect, and everything up to this point, it hasn't been terrible, but it's when she gets emotional like this, like, she just can't channel it right, and can't do it right now. It's not to mean that she can't do it later, and she's not going to grow up, and if she decides to continue acting, that she's not going to be a great actress, right? This is just something they did. I mean, look at Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore did horror movies in the beginning, and then she became Drew Barrymore. I mean, anybody can do anything, right? If they just put their mind to it and they hone their craft, and she could. And there's really good things about her performance too, that she's probably going to nail as she gets more roles and as she does more things. So me talking shit about her, I'm just trying to normalize that I'm allowed to talk shit about her in this scene. But the therapist is just, goddamn. Like, you know, when she turns around, she starts talking to Chauncey, and of course, it's done in a way so Alice is constantly blocking Chauncey. Like, she goes out in the hallway, she grabs the bear, and she puts him on the edge of the couch, then she goes and sits down, and the camera that's being used is out of focus, and you can't see what exactly is being seen on the screen at the same fucking time, and you just know that the film is trying to, like, hide something from you, that there's going to be some big revelation that we're soon going to get. It's not very far off, so I don't want to exactly say what it is, but you can kind of guess what it's going to be in the different camera tricks that they're trying to play, or the framing options. It's not camera tricks. They're just framing these scenes in a specific way so that you as the audience still see everything that everybody sees, but you're not seeing something, right? And so there has to be something that's being hidden from you, and you don't know exactly what it is. Is it something that's changing with Chauncey in terms of the way that he's reacting? Is it that, you know, is it because it's an imaginary friend and it's imaginary and only she's the one that can see it? But then it's been seen around all these other people at the same time. So, you know, we don't know exactly what it is as an audience, right? And there's probably a conclusion that you're going to be led to, and you're probably going to be right when you think about it. But it's just, you know, like the stupid little voice that sounds like Alice. No, nobody loves you. In fact, the only person that loves you is Chauncey. Chauncey's the only one that does. Fake mommy doesn't love you at all. She's gonna leave you like she leaves everybody. What the fuck is that supposed to mean? Like, I get it. Again, it does mean something, right, in terms of the film, but there's nothing to, like, say about the character that she runs away from her problems. Like, she was taken away from her home and has always wanted to get back to her father, always want to understand why her father did the way that she did, that she's writing these books as a coping mechanism, and that she's trying to, you know, connect with these girls. And the only thing that you can kind of think of yourself to be led to believe is that Chauncey, as a character in this movie, is trying to manipulate Alice into, like, believing that he's the only one for her, right? And that she needs to spend the time. But we don't know shit about what Chauncey is or what Chauncey wants to do. All we know is that Chauncey wants her to do this scavenger hunt because he's going to take her away to his world, wherever that might be, and that he tried to kill that dumbass fucking Liam kid, right? But Chauncey really hasn't done anything bad. I mean, we're in 50-something minutes in this movie, and we've still got another 50 minutes left of this movie to go, and we haven't even figured out what the hell this thing is and what it's ultimately trying to do. And it's just taken a long time to get to this point, for it to finally start being like somewhat evil in some way, shape, or form. We have gotten some little nuggets here and there, but we don't, as an audience, we don't know that these are really nuggets, right? We find out later that they are nuggets. And there are things that have been said by characters. There's things that have been done. There's things, even this little scavenger list happens to be a nugget. And that's the only one that you can kind of think is something, especially when one of the things is that something that hurts yourself is a part of that list that she's got going on here. Also, I forgot to mention that Jessica did take a picture of the list, but she only took a picture of the front. Like, if you're going to take a picture and you see something on the back that says something that hurts you, wouldn't you take a picture of both sides? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me, period. Like, you want to take a picture of something and it's double-sided, you're going to take a picture of both sides so you have all the information, right? You're not just going to take one side and be like, oh, I'm going to show somebody this the other day, but I want to make sure that I take the side that doesn't seem like it's dangerous. Except for the thing that says that something that burns. But that could be anything. You just get a match. You get a piece of paper. It fucking burns. Doesn't mean you're going to light it on fire. It just means that you get a fucking piece of wood from outside. Something that burns. There. That's it. I'm done. I don't have to get fire. But whatever. So, Alice runs upstairs because Chauncey's threatening her that she's going to... I'm going to hurt all three of you if you say anything to anybody else or the therapist. Don't tell them anything, or I'm going to kill you. Like, if the therapist says anything. Like, Chauncey's just a whiny fucking bitch. Chauncey is just as bad as fucking Taylor, right? Like, instead of texting something, he's just saying it the fuck out loud. That's the only way that he's dealing with this shit. So, she runs upstairs, and then Jessica goes and talks to the therapist, and the therapist tries to explain some stuff to Jessica, and that's where we find out that the therapist knows of something similar that other kids have done, and that fact that other kids have exhibited this behavior as well, and she doesn't know how to pinpoint it. Like, just listen.
I need to ask, has Sally's taken up any new hobbies lately? Ventriloquism?
Ventriloquism? I'm sorry, no, I don't think so.
Can we talk privately about next steps?
Of course. Would you check on her? I'll be up in a minute.
Hey. Chauncey's mad at me. Will you stay with me, please?
It's okay, Alley Cat, all right? We're just gonna get comfy. We're gonna take a little nap, okay?
Okay.
On our session today, Alice brought up something new, something that she called the never ever. This reminded me of another paracosm case, a patient I encountered over 10 years ago. Luis, tell me more about Randy Rabbit.
Randy is my best friend. He loves me.
Did he also tell you to do that? Luis, it's okay to tell me.
He said not to say, that you'd never understand. Never, ever.
Luis went missing a week after that. The police never found him. He vanished. I read many cases, missing children with extreme paracosm attachments who cause them to detach from their families and leave home, just like Luis.
He said not to say, that you'd never understand. Never, ever.
So, you're telling me, and I was going off about this beginning, but I'm going to get even more into this here. You're telling me that this kid, okay, or this therapist has run into this exact issue before, and then she's not going to offer any type of fucking advice on how to deal with this or how to handle this whole fucking situation of everything that's going on, period. In fact, she's going to be in here one more time, and then she's not going to do anything else, and she's just going to fucking leave the movie. She's not going to stay, try to help, try to understand, maybe find out some more information. No, it's all going to be up to fucking Jessica, because Jessica goes downstairs, picks up the box, and remember the booklet that I told you about before? She mentions the never ever. So even this bitch knows about the never ever, doesn't know exactly what it is, but she's dealt with cases that have dealt with this shit before. Like, really? Really? You're just gonna fucking deal with it? You're gonna go downstairs and then you're gonna, let Jessica go downstairs and go get the stuff, and she's gonna show you that you have this shit and you're not gonna be surprised by this situation? No. The only thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna reflect upon this and let her know that, hey, you and Alice are exactly the same, and the fact of the matter is that Chauncey, yeah, he's not fucking real. Okay? And that we're going to get the revelation with the videos that are there. And, let me guess, an imaginary character is not real. Woo, big revelation that we've got going on here. But, of course, when we do the stuff with the videotape, we realize that Chauncey's never been in any of the video that they've taken, including the stuff that Jessica has done.
Did Alice draw that?
Those other kids you were talking about before, the ones who disappeared, vanished, they all had friends they played with too?
Yes.
That's it. I gotta destroy that bear.
What bear?
Chauncey. Alice's stuffed bear. The stuffed bear Alice brought into the study?
I don't understand.
What is this?
Take a look for yourself. Go ahead, Alice.
Chauncey, it really scared me.
Yeah, and she put it down on the sofa there, right?
And your 3 ugly granddaughters.
What?
There was never any bear.
No,
It's a donut from England. Across the pond, they pronounce it scone.
So the only people that can see fucking Chauncey happen to be Jessica and Alice. They're the only two that can see the goddamn bear. That's the big revelation that we're getting here, and that's why there's some connection between the two of them other than the scar that they share, right? The scar on the arm that they both have. So, and this is the other thing that pisses me off about this scene. And we were talking about the daughters earlier. It turns out it's the, therapist daughters. And I made that mistake twice because even the first time, it didn't make any sense until she repeats it again. And I'm going to hurt her and her 3 daughters, meaning that she's going to hurt her granddaughters. And when she opens up the laptop, on the screen are her 3 granddaughters, right? That they're on top. But what pisses me off the most is the fact that the camera that's being recorded, right? In every other shot, it's out of focus and everything's like that. But when we get into the shot where we see her turn around, we see Alice turn around like she did in the scene, but we have a wider shot and we see the couch and there is no bear sitting there on the couch, the fucking screen is way more pixelated than that old ass camcorder that she found that had all the stuff. Like that camcorder from back in the 90s, right, was way more high tech than this camera that they have here in the 2020s. Really? Like even when it's focused on there and, the camera's looking at it, it's like hella pixelated. Or this bitch just decided to get the cheapest fucking camera that you could get, which is perfectly fine. But at the same time, there's no way that the older tech is going to look a lot better than this fucking tech that we have here right in front of us. No fucking way, unless it's using the cheapest fucking screen known to goddamn man, and they just use higher quality products back in the 90s, and that's the way that we're going to start thinking about things as nostalgia fucking gets us, how everything was made better in the 90s. That's the way the kids that grew up during that era are soon going to talk about. Remember back in the day and everything was actually made from real presswood and not made from this synthetic fiber shit that we've got now here in the 2030s? Yes, Grandpa, presswood was so much better than our synthetic wood. I get it. Well, we used to go to a place called IKEA. And at IKEA, we'd have these things we'd build for ourselves, not these flimsy things you press a button and maybe it suddenly how puts together. Yeah, I get it, Grandpa. We have everything nicer and everything's just more, about cost effective and product rather than, or I should say profit rather than product, than just a real fucking profit that made, slightly less, profit than what we're making now. What about like great grandpa? Didn't he use wood? Wood? Nothing compares to fucking pressboard in IKEA. I mean, that was the best shit that you could get all the time. IKEA was your fucking mecca for everything furniture. Not this delivery bullshit that we've got now. One press button puts it together. Ooh, it's 3D printed. It's more economical. It's better for the environment. Bah! IKEA. That was the future, man. We all knew it back then. Mom, think Grandpa needs his meds. I think he's talking too much about IKEA again. And we used to have these things called compact discs. Oh no, he's on compact discs now. Doesn't he know that everything's digital? I don't even know what you see in those things. I mean, what they have, like images or something? I'm going to pull out my old DVD player from the closet and I'm going to show you a movie. God damn it. I don't even have that type of connector on this TV anymore. You know how many adapters that we're going to have to get so you can play your weird little disc? Well, we owned our shit back in the day. Can't say that you own anything now, do you? I guess you kind of got me there on that one, Grandpa. But yeah, it's ridiculous. And it's funny because when you even look at the DVDs, basically the stuff that you read, you own the license to it. If for some reason, like, you gave it away, but you basically can watch it anytime, right? But it's similar to digital, just they can't take it away from you. But nonetheless, it's just funny that, like, this therapist has been involved in a situation like this before, but still has never tried to put two and two together. So she's kind of like the worst therapist in the world, and why does she even need to be in this movie, right? Like, again, it's just a small scene, and the reason for her being here is to reveal to Jessica that, yeah, Jessica also experienced the same thing, and basically show her, and Jessica's going to run around the house trying to look for stuff and, like, see if the bear is in other places, and then Taylor is such a fucking idiot that she doesn't look at Alice anymore. She just leaves her in the bedroom by herself, and when she does that type of thing, like, then all of a sudden Alice is left to herself and starts speaking to Chauncey as it is, and we're getting like flashbacks of all the times that Alice had the bear, but she never really had the bear, and Jessica's starting to realize that, yeah, they are the same. They both are the only ones that can see Chauncey and all this bullshit. And yeah, and then, like I said, Chauncey shows up back in Alice's room, but it opens the door. There's no bear there. She's just talking directly to him about how she's sorry. She didn't mean to say that they couldn't be friends anymore, and that, yeah, she'll finish whatever he needs to have done to get their list finished. So as Alice goes along with Chauncey to do what she's going to do, we cut back downstairs to Taylor and Jessica and the therapist as she begins to ask her questions about how long she's been seeing the bear, and that this could all possibly be just some type of family trauma that they all have.
Can I ask how long have you been seeing this bear?
Since we moved back.
There's been a lot of change going on recently. Maybe an incident from your childhood that you're dealing with.
But that doesn't explain why Alice is seeing it too.
Kids are very intuitive, far more than we think. There are documented cases of children having the same dream as a parent. My suspicion is that whatever is going on with you, Alice is tuning into. I have a colleague I think you should talk to. Please, call him.
Worst therapist ever. Like, seriously though, you have a case of a video on your fucking laptop of another kid with an imaginary friend that he's talking about where he cut off his fucking thumb. And here you brought over, to a case with a kid that tried to stick her hand through a nail on a fucking board and is having other issues going on with her. And nope, there's nothing related. This must be family fucking trauma. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, where did you get your fucking license? From the University of Phoenix? Like, have you been practicing out of a cardboard box on the side of the fucking road? Like, what the hell is the issue that you've got going on here? I bet you charge a lot of money for this fucking bullshit that you're spreading right now. It doesn't make any sense. Why in the fuck is she just not putting two and two together that, hey, this is very similar to what I've seen before, and maybe you've gone through something similar, and maybe that's what you don't remember. You went through something similar as her, even though both of you can only see bears, but the moment that they mention bears, that they can see them, then it's like, nope, you guys just must be batshit insane, and this is just fucking family trauma that you gotta deal with. And of course, after she leaves, and she gives the name of her friend so her friend can get some money for this bullshit fucking medical advice that they're giving everybody, that causes Jessica to go over and look at her paper. And what does she see on the drawing that she did as a kid of the Never Ever door? She sees a drawing of Chauncey. So pretty sure you can guess what CB might actually mean at this point if you didn't figure it out earlier in the review when I mentioned it the first time. So Alice finds Chauncey, and it's just her talking to the bear, and then you see like there's a record player that's there that he's like scratched into with his bear claws, and you see the bear actually moving its head and like looking at Alice and talking to her, and she's pleading with him that, yes, I still want to be your friend. I'll finish your list, because he's like, what can we do to be friends? And he's like, finish my list, Alice. Don't be a little bitch. It's time to fucking hurt yourself. This time, I don't want to fucking hurt you by sticking a hand through a nail. I want you to shove this little shoe up your big fat butthole, because then that'll make you cry, and you can go running in the street with the shoe up there and be like, oh, I kicked my own ass. That's why I'm so upset. Me. And it's going to make me happy, and everything's going to be good and great, and that's how we're going to be friends again. Oh, okay. I'll do what you say, Chauncey. I love you. Like, I'm sure I'm doing worse acting than she is, but that's what she sounds like to me. So Alice goes downstairs and starts painting a wall in the basement of a blue door, right? As she collects everything together to do exactly what Chauncey does for his list. Meanwhile, Jessica and Taylor go running through the house trying to find, like, Alice, trying to figure out where she's at. So we go between them running around the house, not figuring that she could possibly be in the basement, to, going and seeing Alice put everything that she's done together, including where she hurt her, because she takes off like a Band-Aid from her arm and then sticks it all into the bowl. And then the last thing that she's got to do, what the bear says, is something that burns. So she's got to light it all on fire, because it's the magic of fire. And she can't do it, because that's the one thing that she can't do. And that's where we learn that probably her trauma happened with a giant fire, and she burnt herself, or her mom burnt her with fire or some shit like that on her arm. So we got Taylor and Jessica roaming all of the house trying to find Alice. They can't figure out where she's at. They go downstairs. They finally figure out maybe she's in the basement. And when they go to the basement, all they see is a blue door and a little cup with nothing in it. Everything's been like burnt down. Yet there's like a flower on the wall where the door should be. And there's, well, at least like, it's like a little crawl space or something like that. And she's just completely disappeared. So we then cut to that evening, and we see that the cops are out because, nobody's been found. And that's when we figure out that Alice, she's been kidnapped by the imaginary friend. But of course, Taylor, she blames it on Jessica.
No one's seen her at all tonight.
The police are looking. We'll find her.
You keep trying to make everything better, but you are only making it worse. I mean, none of this even makes sense. She was sleeping in her room. People do not just disappear.
It disappeared.
What are you talking about? What?
It was something that my dad said. I didn't understand what he meant. I thought he meant when I moved away, but okay. This is gonna sound out there. But I think that my childhood imaginary friend and Alice's are the same. And I think the way that Alice just disappeared, maybe.
Stop! Just stop, Jess.
Listen, I know
my
it sounds
sister's missing! And she didn't disappear. She ran away because you forced your way into her life and screwed everything up, trying to be this perfect mommy. Well, guess what, Jess? You're not needed.
Taylor,
I'm going to walk the block again. Maybe I'll see something.
All right, you dumb little bitch. Like, you know that everything is weird. You know that she was in the house, and honestly, you're probably blaming yourself for not hanging out with Alice when you were told to hang out with fucking Alice and make sure that nothing happens to her and to comfort her. But instead, she decided to go downstairs and see what the fuck was going on. Just like when you weren't supposed to invite fucking Liam over the house, but you invited him over fucking anyway. And that's when, you know, of course, Jessica's getting upset because she just got told to the face that she'll never be their mom, and that's the reason why Alice ran away. But we all know that's not the real reason why Alice ran away. She was abducted by our good friend, the imaginary Chauncey. So Jessica goes back to the art studio. Meanwhile, Taylor is going to walk the block once more because she wants to find her sister. So Jessica, she goes into her art studio and she rips off the painting that she's been working on, that it's missing the face of Simon that's on her little easel that she's gotten there. That's when, as in looking around in the room, she notices the scratches that are down there on the record player, and then she reveals parts of the wall in her room that have different things written on her. Meanwhile, we see Taylor running around the block. She runs by Liam's house, and she looks up and smiles at Liam, but Liam closes the window, and then she's approached by that crazy old dumbass biddy that was there. We go back over into Jessica's room as Taylor's going to hang out with the old lady, and we see that on the wall is written in multiple places, CB, SEEBEE, along with all these other things that are written on the wall as well. So Jessica decides to start moving around things in the room and recreating the drawings and whatever she can find, the different words that are written on the wall in there with all her markers and everything. We then cut back over to the that old dumb bitch Gloria and Taylor as the old lady basically explains everything to us, right? And this is, again, we'll talk about this after because, Jesus fucking Christ.
Look at this. Jessica drew that for me once.
What does this have to do with Alice?
Well, when Jessica was little, she would talk about a trip she was going to take to a secret place. A place just for her and her imaginary friend. I thought it was just kid stuff until the last night I sat for her and I saw something I couldn't explain. Jessica opened a door. A door that leads to the same place that I believe Alice went. After Jessica moved away, I became consumed with understanding what I'd seen. It became my life's work, my obsession.
You think Alice was abducted by a spirit?
Every culture has a name for it, entities that tether to the young. The Spanish call it El Cuco, the Trinidadians, the Jumbi. We call them imaginary friends.
You're saying Bing Bong is real?
I know that sounds odd. People don't believe in otherworldly things until they must. Kids, on the other hand, all have imaginary friends. Most of them are benevolent, helpful even, benign projections from an entity in the spirit world. And the connection with the child almost always fades naturally over time. But sometimes when the child is separated from her imaginary friend in an unnatural or sudden way, the trauma can cause the entity to hunger for the child's imagination. Friendship isn't ever one way. Imaginary friends thrive off of a child's creativity and imagination. It feeds that hunger. Jessica's creativity was especially vibrant and powerful. When their connection was severed, her friend's hunger turned violent.
So, Bing Bong is bad, and he has Alice?
The friend that Jessica was separated from didn't just disappear. He waited in that house, and his name is not Bing Bong. It's Chauncey. Isn't it?
So this old lady knows way more about this stuff, and she's just showing up now. She's just here now. Like, she showed up earlier and she was like connecting with Jessica, but we didn't get more pieces of her throughout this whole fucking movie. We didn't get her like showing up in little random places. What if she ended up being the therapist, right? What if we had her come in and she's like confirming what's going on, and then she disappears, and then she comes back in this thing and like approaches her and is like, look, I know this is going to sound weird, but I've been chasing these cases and I know that everything's going here. Like, why couldn't you just combine the mother, the therapist, and fucking crazy lady here into one fucking character? Then the mother would become much more important. Or even then, just combine the mother and the old lady. Like, the mother knew something, because she obviously did, based upon what we knew in the beginning of the movie when she was talking about there's something here. So she knows something's up. She knows there's something weird. There's some weird spirits or entities. So she's been affected by these imaginary friends as well, and she's not crazy. I mean, basically, her mom and her father are the same type of fucking person and probably had the same type of fucking experience. It's just that the mom is just fucking insane in different ways. Maybe she had an older experience where she saw it, or she was a babysitter and she saved some kid. I don't fucking know, but it would be much different, I think much more compelling if you combine these two characters together. But then you're just going to have this lady randomly like show up in one moment, then not be in the movie for 30 to 40 fucking minutes, and then have her show up and explain fucking everything that's going on here. Like, and make Taylor believe that everything is right. And how dare you bring the name Bing Bong into this piece of shit? Okay? How dare you do that? That man is a living fucking treasure. Bing Bong is a motherfucking hero, okay? You do not besmirk the name of fucking Bing Bong. You keep that name out your goddamn mouth. You hear me? Don't you ever talk shit about him. Don't think that Chauncey even compares to the greatness that is Bing Bong. All right? Get that clear? Don't do it. But yeah, I don't know what the script is thinking by having this character, period. Right? Either this person's in the movie a lot, you know, and especially if we're going with the poltergeist thing, right? Where we have the psychic come in and she's doing all these things and she's throughout most of that goddamn movie. And here, we don't get that. We get her for a second where she talks down to fucking Alice as she's trying to talk to fucking, you know, Jessica over here. And then she just disappears until Alice is gone and she's like, it's my fucking time. It's time for me to get into it and to fucking like save the day or explain everything that's going on. And now we learn that this is why Chauncey's evil, right? We learn that imaginary friends are either good or bad. And they only turn bad when the connection between whatever child they had before is severed. And those ones, as we're learning here, will take them over into the imaginary world of Never Ever, which I haven't even mentioned is the worst fucking name for some type of other land. It's not necessarily, okay, the worst fucking name is being a little bit of a hyperbole here, but it still kind of is a bad name, right? For the world where the imaginary people live. Like, this is Never Never Land. Like, we're going to go to Michael Jackson's fucking ranch and hang out for a little bit because that's the bad version of it, not the place where Peter Pan and the pirates are, right? And even that's questionable, especially since you're going to, you know, be young forever and you're never going to grow up. And, you know, the oldest person that then's going to be there for Peter Pan is going to be Wendy, and that's kind of creepy. So, yeah, kind of sucks. But it's you're explaining your whole movie in a 2-minute clip. That's all you're fucking doing. Like, again, if like they were seeing signs and she was trying to befriend Jessica and she's seeing the things that are going on, and instead of calling over the therapist, maybe Jessica brings her over and she's like, look, you know, you were a little bit of a troublemaker and you had an imaginary friend when you were little, and I used to talk to her and everything would be okay. What if I sat down and talked with her for a little bit and try to make things right? You know, that might help. You know, I used to be a child psychologist back in the day. I could totally help you guys out and go through it. We can figure out and we can help Alice. Like, simple things as that. And then like she goes, when Alice disappears, oh my God, I've seen this happen before. This actually happened with you back in the day. What? Oh my God, I can't believe that happened. There's no way. I'm going to find Alice on my own. And then she explains everything to I don't fucking know. I feel like the therapist is completely fucking useless in this movie. Like, the only thing it does is it moves the plot forward. That's all it really fucking does. There's no revelations other than, you know, there is the revelation that Chauncey's actually not being able to be seen by anybody but Alice and Jessica, right? And that's how, hey, they brothers, they're the same, hey! You know, that type of thing goes on with that. But for the most part, that could have been done differently. And like I said with the mom, like, because it's linked to somehow this. She knows something about the evil and she knows something about Chauncey and she has to protect her girls from it. And the fact that like she's crazy like that and her father is also crazy in a very similar way when we're talking about CB, and on all the walls are fucking CB all over the place, you know, so like they could have made so many other connections and having everything. It's just, it blows my mind that I feel like in my mind, and again, I'm not a screenwriter. I don't make movies. It's very hard to make movies. It takes a very talented person to even put a bad movie together. I get all of that. But I just feel like rewrites of the script would have been much better. Like, the general overall arching story of this movie is interesting. If you just told me the premise of this, I am down. And in fact, that first trailer where you're just like listening to things, you're not really seeing anything, I was down to see this movie. It wasn't until like the big things happen and you actually saw like everything in the trailer that I was like, that's going to be dumb. And I want to see it for a different reason. Not because it necessarily interests me, but because it's going to be stupid. Like, that's my thought process with that, rather than what's going on here, right? So, I just feel that a couple of things written differently in this film would make this a much better movie. A much, much better movie. Would it be like this great movie? No, but I just feel like you could have all these cool little loose ends that you planted seeds for that don't go anywhere and don't get to grow, that they would actually make an impact on the movie. And that's why I say, like, the mom's, the whole storyline, we don't hear shit about the mom, and we're going to only see her in a second, right, as we get towards the end of the film, but we don't hear shit about that person at all. Nothing else. There is no more mention of her until we physically see her again. When you can probably guess how we actually see her if we're talking about the Never Ever. It's just like, I haven't been like mad just about it. It's not being mad, and yes, there is a little bit of hyperbole in this whole thing. I'm probably being hyperbolic about the whole situation just to be a little bit entertainment wise, but the really thing that makes me mad of this film is it is truly just wasted potential of a good idea. And it's just, that execution just kills me. And it really doesn't come down to the actors in the film. It doesn't come down to the way that it's shot. It comes down to the script. Because I think this is competent. I think that the direction is competent. I think that the actors are overall pretty good. Like I said, the main actress, Jessica's actress, reminds me of fucking Angela Bassett, which is badass because I fucking love Angela Bassett. It's great. But you don't see the dad anymore. He's just not going to be in this film, period. Not even at the end of the goddamn movie. Well, he's in it for a second at the end for another reason. And you you have these characters that just pop in, pop out, and then you have fucking, this dumb old biddy that's over here that is just doing an exposition dump. And of course, she's got no other needs, no other nefarious things going on. The fact that she's written a book about this place and nobody believes her, and she's been like the authority on this thing, and she hasn't been around once since the beginning of the goddamn movie. Why? Oh, I'm out of breath after all of that. So we go back, and again, like I said, we see that Jessica, she's figured out everything. She found the list on the wall. She's been trying to put it back all together. She's been painting the images of Chauncey in the room, and then she goes downstairs, and she finds Taylor, and that's where she tries to approach Taylor and explain everything that's going on. But of course, the old lady is with her, and Taylor, this blows my mind too, because she's had this crazy conversation with this dumb bitch, Gloria, that all of a sudden she believes everything because she's probably an impressionable teenager, but she just automatically is like, yeah, okay, yeah, I totally believe you. I get it. I understand what's going on, and I'm sorry for what I did earlier. Like, it took some lady that's writing crackpot theories about the imagination world and everything like that, and to just say, Chauncey, why'd you say that name? Again, I think that's the wrong movie, but it fucking fits in this movie. Like, it's ridiculous. Anyway, so now we learn who the fuck CB really is.
Taylor, please, you have to believe me. What happened to Alice happened to me too.
Actually, I know it did.
My dad kept repeating it. CB, talking with that CB. I thought he was delusional, ranting about some radio I had as a kid, but he was saying the name of my friend, CB. It was my childish way of saying Chauncey's full name. The name I gave him. Chauncey Bear.
You told me all about CB, and you showed me the list that you made together. I thought it was make-believe until you went away.
To the never ever.
I think that the entity who was projecting the teddy bear image, when he realized that he was going to lose you, he tried to bring you back to his realm where he could keep you forever.
How could you forget all that?
Because I was 5? Because I just lost my mother to cancer. Now this thing took Alice because I abandoned him.
So how did you get back here from that place? How do we get Alice back?
I think my list is the key.
I can only read half of that. Those are so faded.
They're the same.
That's when she shows that she's got the picture of the list on her goddamn phone. But again, it's only the first half of the list. And so they decide that, yeah, the best course of action is to just go back in there. And like I said, it's so just fucking random for Taylor to just be like, yeah, it's all the same. I totally agree. I know all of this now. And I totally believe it because of this old fucking lady that just randomly showed up and became the Deus Ex Machina to get us to this fucking point in this movie, even though she showed up once before. And there's nothing nefarious that she's trying to fucking do with the whole never ever and everything like that. And then, like, it goes back to the dad, and the dad, like, doing CB, always talking about that. And then I love it. This line I do love, where she was just like, how could you forget about that? I was 5, yet this place is your goddamn happy place? Really? This place is your happy place. Yet you don't remember shit about what happened to you when you were 5. You pushed it all aside. I get it. Trauma. Mom dies when you're really fucking young and you have to learn about death at a young age. And that probably is the worst fucking thing that anybody can go through, especially at the age of 5, to no longer have somebody that you love in your life that is a parental figure, right? And then for your dad to go fucking crazy. And then we talk about, like, the lady's like, well, when he knew he was going to lose you, like, did he get this obsessive right after mom died? That's when it had to happen. And she was changing because she didn't have time for that because she was so, like, in with the fact that her mom's dead, right? And she was in a sad state and a depressed state, and it was basically kind of growing up earlier than she needed to because of that experience, which caused Chauncey to become evil and want to take her so that he continuously feed on her, because as we learned, that imaginary friends feed on the kids. It provides them with sustenance. It's just some of them are benevolent and know when their time is to stop feeding, and others become obsessed with the feeding if the child is too succulent. Like there's some fucking, one of those people. I don't want to say what it is, but like one of those people preying on fucking kids and just gotta suck them dry. God, that sounds fucking horrible too. But that's basically it. That's basically what imaginary friends are. Good imaginary friends are your, Belindas. Bad imaginary friends are your Epsteins. That's what I'm trying to get at in this situation. So that's a horrible fucking analogy as well. Oh, that's terrible. I could have said Jared's. Your imaginary friend is just like Jared from Subway. But nonetheless, so they go back downstairs and they decide to figure out how to get in there and recreate the whole fucking list because it's time to start getting in there.
We're seriously doing a kid's scavenger hunt to open a doorway to a magical spirit world? My sister is missing.
Taylor, it's not about the actual items. It's a benediction. It's about how far you're willing to go to prove your devotion.
A paintbrush, something that burns. There was more to Alice's list. Backside. It was something that makes you mad, makes you cry. I got the mad part and the crying part all in one.
The last few items were something that scares you, something that you'll get in trouble for, and something that makes you hurt.
Want me to send a bitchy text?
It needs to hurt, really hurt. You cut your arm.
And Dr. Soto's former patient cut off his thumb. Alice tried to impale herself with that rusty nail.
That night, when you went in, you begged me to come with you, and I wanted to. I wish I had, but I was scared. I'm so sorry that I let you go in alone. I should have been braver. Jessica, he opened the door for you once before. I'm sure he'll do it again.
Something that hurts. There's a first aid kit up in the hallway. I need you to go and get it.
So they put together a list, and I find it hilarious how they figure out the back of it, even though it's like not there. They just go through, it's all by memory. I only read it once, but I know exactly what it is. Something that hurts, something that makes you mad, something that makes you sad. I totally know everything that's there. Like, okay, you saw it once for a second, and of course, the old lady also knows one part of it as well. I love the whole thing. It hurts. Oh, no, it has to something that really hurts, not just a bitchy text, you fucking idiot. Like, that's kind of funny to me in general. And so they decide on something hurts. Well, Jessica decides on something hurts because she tells them to go get a medical kit. Then she takes the scissors and she stabs it right through her hand, providing the only gory thing that happens in the movie, and it's not even gory. Like, it's just really quick. It's there. That's the one thing that's going to give you the PG-13 rating. So they take everything together now and they go downstairs and they get ready to try to open the blue door that was created by, Alice down there. And as they do it, they realize that what was used to be something hurts actually doesn't work. And you probably get the best thing in this movie when Jessica stands up to Taylor and gives her what for as the something that truly hurts.
I don't understand. We followed all the steps.
No. It has to work. We collected all that dumb shit. Maybe you missed something. No, try again. Try again, Jess. You have to fix this.
I have to fix it. I do. Why do I always have to fix your mistakes?
Jess, I was...
You're the reason Alice is missing. You were supposed to be watching her.
Stop.
She's your sister. She needed you, but you're so self-absorbed, you couldn't be bothered to notice. You're selfish, Taylor. Just like your mother.
Something that hurts. The ritual needed pain, real pain. Hurting your hand wasn't enough.
Here, you were to say it. Fuck, that was brutal, Jess.
There's your one fuck that's allowed in a PG-13 movie. And yeah, I think it's used appropriately in this little case too. So the one thing that I did gloss over real fast and didn't really talk about was the fact that, like, the old lady, Gloria over here, says that she's the one that cut her arm. So her father didn't even do that either. So why was she separated from her dad? Well, we're going to find that all out in just a moment as well, right? And it's kind of also already been explained, like I said before, where it was just laid out to us, but Jessica couldn't make any sense of it. So it's not until Jessica sees it once again that she realizes what exactly meant, like her dad meant by what he said, right? Even though the audience knows what exactly happened, even if they don't know exactly what happened in this case. So she decides to turn her words onto Taylor and go at Taylor's fear, where she's like, and she calls her mother selfish. So what was selfish that her mom did? Again, like, yeah, is this a great line for this, like, movie and what they're doing? Yeah, I think that this one is really good in the way that they did it, and her attacking her as well, right? I don't think that that's a bad thing at all. But we don't have any cases in this movie where the mom was selfish, right? She actually went to their place to protect her daughters, because she even said that something's there. There's nothing selfish about that. She cares about her kids. So saying this here is something that stings, it doesn't totally work. It's a great little piece. I totally agree with that. But the line doesn't make a whole lot of sense because we don't have anything else with the mom. What did the mom do? That was the issue. We just know there was an issue. We don't know exactly what she did. So they go into the Never Ever. The door opens up, it locks them in, and we go into the Never Ever, and it is the most goddamn disappointing place that I've seen. Like, it looks like an M.C. Escher painting. Like, that's the way they do it. Their stairs, like, kind of going to nowhere. It's like blue. There are clouds, the checkered. Basically what we saw in the beginning of the movie. But it's not crazy. Like, if you're going into the realm of the spirits of imagination, wouldn't you want this to look batshit insane? Wouldn't you want it to be where you spent a lot of your budget on the set, rather than just being some hallways and blue? Like, and this is where it feels like Coraline in this regard. Not just because of something else that's going to happen later, but because, like, this also kind of looks like the house. So it's like the other world, right, from Coraline, where we have the other mother and the other father and the other characters that are there. But it's not. It's like lazy. It's really lazy. And this is a case where the budget just isn't there. So if they have $10 million to do things, I don't know where that money went on this movie. If they spent $8 to $10 million, is it just on the actors? Was it renting the house that the movie basically takes place in the entire time? It wasn't building this set. There's no way that cost $1 million or $2 million to build the goddamn set. Like, it needs to be something more than just blue and doors and a checkered floor and then just like mirror effects. Like, there's really like one scene where she's like walking down a hallway and then you see the two hallways there, and it just feels like it's being shot into a mirror. Like, there's nothing special about this place. There's nothing kind of interesting or cool, or, this is the realm of the imaginary spirit that's there. This imaginary friend that feeds off the kids, but there's nothing to it. It's just lame. It's absolutely shitty. It's just, why? Why spend it? Like, this is where I would want your imagination to literally run wild. I want to see a ton of really cool, interesting stuff. And they really kind of try to, because like, and this is where we get Jessica with a revelation of everything that went on, right? Is that she goes over to this like painting, and it's the painting that she tore up that's missing the face, and she lifts it up, and that's where she sees that her father rescued her from the Never Ever, and then her father looks into the eyes of whatever the spirit is, whatever Chauncey is, and that's what causes him to go to insane, and that's exactly what he said when she saw him. It's the same fucking thing. He just laid it out. So we know exactly why he went insane. Because he told her to stop messing with CB. And then all of a sudden, here comes, he goes to close the door. And that's where CB tries to grab him. And he looks into its eyes. And looking into his eyes, he goes crazy. And it's funny because this guy kind of looks like Michael Strahan because he's missing a tooth in the front. And it looks like Michael Strahan's gap instead. And it's hilarious to me. But he still manages to like close the door even after he's looked into his eyes, and then like cover up the wall with blue paint and everything like that and save his daughter, right? And that's why Jessica was separated from her dad, because her dad saw the entity's eyes, went insane, and then, couldn't take care of Jessica anymore. He didn't hurt her. He didn't, get violent with everything. He didn't just have his mind break because he lost his, his wife. It's because he rescued his daughter. So now you're trying to create a parallel between Jessica's dad and Alice's mom, and you just kind of ruin it here. Because now there is no connection. And like, she did the damage to herself. It wasn't the dad, and he probably got blamed for it too. And then he rescued her and went insane because of the monster, right? Not because of anything else. And we don't even know what Alice's mom did. All we know is that she possibly burned her. So there, that's where we get the revelation of everything that's going on, and we get the old lady turn, and nobody saw this fucking coming.
He gave up everything to save me.
He looked into its eyes, its soul, and he saw the combined imaginations of millions of children. He wasn't strong enough. It destroyed him. It caused a cognitive break with reality.
He went in to rescue me. Faced that thing and sacrificed his sanity. Where did Gloria go?
What are you doing? You trapped us.
Your father should never have let you leave. Oh, it's okay, it's okay. The entity, it's been telling me to do this. It wants us here, all of us. I watched you go in all those years ago while I was left behind, alone, abandoned by you, abandoned by him. And now, none of us will be left alone. This is what the entity promised me. A place where you leave pain behind and where you leave suffering behind, and it's a place of joy, of endless possibilities. Jessica, you didn't come back to your old house by accident. Deep down, you missed him, didn't you?
Was that?
A multi-poo. Like Alice wanted.
See, Alice's imagination is everywhere. Think about it. All the ways that kids play and dream come to life. We can be young here. We can create anything, be anything. We'll be happy here, all of us, forever.
So, just like Alice said earlier in the movie, Chauncey's gonna eat her, and Chauncey eats the old lady, right? He eats Gloria right up, drags her into a fucking door that randomly opens up, and then like you see a bear claw come out, and then you see blood come from under the door, because now she's fucking dead. And she had a turn, right, in this whole movie, because she wanted to go to the Never Ever. She saw them get sucked into the Never Ever as well, and she wanted to be there. She didn't take the chance to go after it, either to save or to belong in that place. And she wants to have her imagination run wild and never grow old and be a kid. Well, goddamn, this is Never Never Land with creepy monsters. But nonetheless, it's just... it's ridiculous, right? That all of a sudden she just randomly has this turn. Again, if she had been popping up throughout the whole movie, I get it. Not a problem. You can have this turn, especially she starts like weaving herself back into their lives and trying to get to this part, especially she's being controlled by the entity. If she's being controlled or being promised things by Chauncey and she knows that Chauncey exists, right? Why isn't she showing up more often? It doesn't make any sense. Why doesn't she try to befriend them? Why doesn't she try to help out? Why did she... That's where like the writing is just bad for this. It's just dumb that you have this revelation at this point in the movie. It's just way too late. Like you can have it. I'm sorry. You can have it at this point in the movie, but why do you wait till now, till the very last act, to bring her back and to have her have this turn, like where it seems like it's out of left field, but it's not out of left field because she hasn't been hiding this the whole time either. Like she's been overacting as like almost an evil person the entire time, and it's why I thought she was Chauncey, right? That she was just a figment of everybody's imagination and she was just luring them back. That would have been even better. That would have been fine if she just randomly showed up and then it's, hey, it's Chauncey. But no, she's not fucking Chauncey. She's been working for Chauncey, but she waits until the last 30 fucking minutes to finally enact his plan. Like, come on. You gotta give me something with this. So they're now stuck there. We also see the dog. It's a cute dog. But now they're stuck in an imaginary world because she's also closed the door. And so they decide, her and Taylor, that they're going to go find Alice. And they think they see Alice running, and Taylor runs after her, but separates herself from Jessica. She ends up in a random room where there is like a ghost kid, right? It's not Alice. It's just some random like kid, I guess, been sucked dry. And there's never a good way to say that, right? And she's stuck in the room with it. And I guess it's supposed to be scary, but it's just kind of silly because like literally she turns around and she's got like, you know, white eyes, and then she runs past Taylor in the room and she turns on the light show thing. Like, that's scary, and that's the way it is. The only thing that we see is there's what looks like to be Chauncey in the corner in his like bear form, right? We go to Jessica, she's running in the hallways, and then she sees a painting of Chauncey that's there on the wall, and she just kind of stares at it. We got Jessica in the room, and she goes over to the little light thing and unplugs it from the wall, and then sees the evil Chauncey standing over there. And I think that that's actually a suit, and that looks pretty good. And she tries to turn the light back on, but she's not able to plug it back into the wall. Like, she takes a little top off of it, and she can't plug it into the wall like she almost does right away, but then doesn't really do it, and then she keeps moving it around, and then when she finally looks to do it and she turns on the light, there's the little kid jump scare that starts chasing after her, and then where Chauncey was in the corner, instead it's the painting that Jessica saw, and Jessica slices through the painting and pulls Taylor out of the room, and she's saved. She tells Taylor, next time, you make sure that we stay together and you listen to what I say. And Taylor's like, yep, totally get it. So they end up going around and looking once again for Alice together this time. Eventually, they do know where Alice's room is going to be because they start seeing like numbers on all the doors, and they realize that, hey, this is our old apartment. This is the old apartment. Taylor recognizes it, actually. And that's where Alice is going to be. And then she barges in right away as well. And instead of them like staying together, she's like, I'm going to go to Alice's room. And she starts running off on her own once again, which this time Jessica keeps up with her and runs down the hallway over there, where they actually run to Alice. And they know it's their apartment because when they open the door, the little Maltese dog walks out right away. So they find Alice in her old room with a bunch of presents all everywhere, and she doesn't want to really leave, or does she?
Alice! Hey!
Maybe it's time to go, okay?
But I have everything I want here. I have my new room in my old apartment, lots of presents, and a puppy. Now you're all here. My sister and both my moms.
Keep away from her.
You don't have to feel threatened. You can all stay.
Alice? Sweetie, she's not real, okay? She's imaginary.
Oh, but you should honor Alice's feelings, Jessica. I can help you become the perfect mom to these two perfect girls.
Alice, Taylor, it's time to go.
How? The blue door is closed.
Don't fight it. Stay.
You're breaking them!
I told you she'd try and spoil it.
Jess, what are you doing?
Imagination has power here. But we can use it to make something new. Sometimes we create by tearing things apart.
Don't mind them, sweetie. She's being bad. We love those books. You should never have to say goodbye to the things you love.
Come on, Alice. It's fun. See?
Alice, sweetie.
It's working.
So, okay, like, again, this is that little nugget that I'm upset about when it comes to this movie, because, like, her mom is shown here in, like, a positive light, but we've never seen the negative, and this is what, like, Alice wants to remember about her mom, right? That her mom's a great mom and she's the perfect person. And this is what her imagination has created. And she's created the perfect mom. And she's actually happy. She even says, both my moms are here. Meaning Jessica, she sees Jessica as her mom, and that's her mom. And they're the perfect versions of her mom. And she loves Jessica's books. And she gets upset when Jessica starts to tear up the book and put it on the wall and realizes that if everything's here is imaginary, we can just create another door that's going to let us out. We can just imagine that door. And this room just happens to have a ton of shit that's blue. Like, okay, that's fine. That part's fine. Okay. Yes, there's a little bit, oh my God, there just happens to be like everything from blue cupcakes to the blue ball that she had earlier to blue ribbons to blue books, all this shit that they're using to create the door. And even Taylor for a moment is just like, there's no way out of here. So I get to have my mom and I have the good version of my mom. And that's what I want. And it's just like, no, like I would have wanted to see like the bad mom. Like, show me a little of the bad mom, not just the crazy. Why is she crazy? Tell me why she's crazy, please. Again, I think, if you combine this mom with the, the old lady, and maybe, like, the mom was trying to get back here, and then the mom disappears and locks them in. They're like, where'd she go? And then all of a sudden she shows up, and she's like, we can have the perfect world now. We can both be the mommy, and we have both of my daughters here, and we can live happy forever. Like, if that was the thing, and she was working for the, the evil entity the entire time, she was working for Chauncey, and she was just trying to be nice and invade their lives and be like, I understand it didn't work out with Max and I, but I love my daughters, and I wanted to help them, but this is the only way that I could bring them all together. I told them I wasn't crazy. I told them there was another world where our imaginations can run everything, and we can live forever. And then you see that she's truly crazy in this case, and they got to fight her off and fight Chauncey off at the same time. Fucking cool. I'm totally down for that. Is it dumb? It's fucking dumb. It just comes out of my head right now. But it would have been better than what we got. And we would have had more connection to the mom. And this scene, other than just being like, okay, the mom's back. Like, there's no impact here to me personally. Maybe to other people there is. They're like, oh my God. There's nothing here. I feel absolutely nothing. And, Alice, one moment is just like, no, I like it here. I just want to stay okay, I'm done with this place. No, I just want to leave. Literally, that's what happens when the mom's like, the fake mom, the other mom, is here trying to get her to stay. She's like, nope, I think it's just time to go. Like, she just randomly starts, like, painting on the walls. It's just like, there's such a quick change a fucking heart from the goddamn little girl that you're just like, what? She didn't want to leave. She was getting upset that they were tearing up the books and they were doing all this stuff. But she's like, oh, arts and crafts. It's time for me to fucking escape. It's so dumb that they did this. So they eventually do make the door, and then after, when they leave, she tears, of course, Alice also tears off the clothes that she's wearing, this pretty blue dress, and then all of a sudden, of course, the, other mom turns into Chauncey the bear, which is a practical costume that's there, and as both Alice and, Taylor escape, the door closes behind them, and they're unable, and Jessica's unable to get out. Then all of a sudden, the floor starts sinking, and she starts falling into the world as Chauncey's coming for her. She's going to attack. And again, I think that costume is actually really cool in the way that it moves, in the design that it is, and I wish that is actually what Chauncey was, but that's not Chauncey. And so she takes the scissors, stabs Chauncey in the eye, and falls through the floor, right? And as she falls through the floor, she's back in there, and all of a sudden, all the doors start to open on her once again, and then we get to actually see, Chauncey kind of for what he is for a moment. Well, actually, we see the bear Chauncey once again, and she's trying to use the scissors to open the door, which it eventually does open, and then Taylor and, Alice pull her through as Chauncey Bear, in his big bear form, is trying to, slam down on it. And then the door, closes, and you think to yourself, wait a second. The door closes, but didn't the dad have to, paint over it to make sure that it was completely closed? Because, when he was trying to do it, he couldn't, and Chauncey could actually open up the door? Huh. This is weird, but okay, they made it. Everybody's happy, everything's great, and we fade over to the next day, and we see that it's, they're at the whatever assisted living place. She's reading the ending to her book, and the movie ends very happily. Or does it?
That was the end of the old story and the beginning of a new one. So what happens when a spider finally catches a millipede? Maybe not what you think. Simon had been chasing Molly for so long that he'd grown old. He had no breath left in his lungs to speak. So instead, he wrapped her up in his 8 arms and hugged her, which is a spider's way of saying, I've loved you all along. I know what you did for me, Dad. How hard it must have been all these years. I'm sorry you went through that alone.
I never really said thank you, Jess. I know I could be hard to deal with. But you never gave up on me.
And you showed me I didn't need Chauncey. I'm strong on my own. Thanks, Mom.
I'm still here.
You said you'll never leave him.
You lied. Do you really think he'd let you go? Again.
Alice was just the bait.
That's why he waited for you. Your imagination was too strong. It fed him. And now you will never leave.
If you do, he'll come back for Taylor, for Alice. If you love them, this is how you save them. You can be happy here.
Okay. I'll stay. Just leave them alone.
I remember watching this when I was watching this, and I was like, okay, like, we're getting the happy ending. They saved her at the last minute. Hurrah. I'm like, there's just like, I even said, I'm like, there's like 10 minutes left of this movie. This can't possibly be it. I'm like, are the credits like that long? Did it take that many people for this? No, there's got to be something that's a little more right. And then when they faded on the screen and Max is there, I'm like, when the fuck did he get there? And he's just like cool with the whole situation, hasn't been around the whole time, and he just believes everything that happened in this situation, everything that went on. He's just like, oh, okay, there's an imaginary person, and he took you to another world, and everything was great, and everything's perfectly fine. I totally believe you, all right. Okay, I got you there. I'm like, yeah, this is not real. There's no way that this is real. Like, come on, there's a fake out coming, and then the fake out comes. And this is where we get the Coraline design, but instead of buttons for eyes, they have spider eyes. And it looks so dumb. Everybody has it. Her dad has it. Fucking Alice has it. Taylor has it. Max has it. They all have these fucking dumb eyes. It's just... And it's bad makeup, and it just makes me laugh so much. Every time you look at them, they're just like, their heads tilted. And he's never gonna let you leave. What the fuck is wrong with your face? What? I was born with this face. I'm trying to do disposition here, and I'm trying to get you to stay in this place, and I'm threatening you. But your eyes, they're so dumb. My mom said they were cool. No, they're dumb. How would anybody be fucking afraid of you? What is this? Why wouldn't you do something that was cool? But my mom said they were cool. She said that my ideas were always good. No wonder why you feed off of kids' imaginations. You don't know how to imagine anything interesting. I would have drawn something really fucking cool. What do you do? Laser eyes. Oh, shit. Laser eyes are more fucking cool than my spider eyes. You're right. I don't have an imagination. I don't even have a mom. She left. She was sleeping with the swim instructor. Yeah, cry for me, bitch. I'll grow stronger. Yes. What? Wait, I'm supposed to be feeding. No! And that's how she defeated the imaginary monster. Because she feeds off of people's, like, fears and tears and all that shit. End of movie. Hey, good night, guys. This podcast has been brought to you by... If only it was that cool. Like, she found a way to just insult the thing to death. I think it would have been cooler than what the ending that we actually get. So, of course, they all start surrounding her, and they're basically like, stay with us. And she agrees because she doesn't want to see them get hurt. And that's when Taylor really does come out of the middle of nowhere with her field hockey stick. Hey, you remember that from way earlier in the beginning of the fucking movie when she threw it in the closet? Because she still got it. And she comes in and she whacks the other version of herself out with the stick and then pulls, Jessica all the way back to the door to where they actually go in and run away. And that's where we get a good shot of Mr. fucking real looking fucking piece of crap Chauncey. And he looks like the spider in the beginning of the movie, only worse. Like, it is just... The legs look terrible. They just look like... pipe cleaners? Pipe cleaner spiders? That's what he fucking is. He's a goddamn pipe cleaner spider. Just in costume form. That's what we get. And he just, crawls after him, and he's wearing a really terrible mask, and it's just like... You made him look kind of cool in the beginning of the movie. Why does he look like shit right now? Why do we have these, and I swear you can see the strings that hold up the legs as he's fucking walking down the hallway, and he's just crawling on normal hands and knees, but he's got these, random spider legs. again, where did the $8 to $10 million go? Did it go to make the one CGI version of fucking Chauncey look pretty good? It didn't go to the set. It didn't go to the way that fucking Chauncey looks right now, like a guy wearing a fucking cape and just a fucking like paper bag mask. Like Jason from Friday the 13th Part 2 is a better fucking costume design than this goddamn fucking spider thing that Chauncey is. So they escape through the door, they close it, but they realize they've got to start painting the wall to cover it, right? So they start trying to cover the wall with paint, but of course they're not fast enough, and it opens up, and Chauncey tries to grab them through the door, and then he starts to look Jessica right in the eyes, and we get the mask, and we get a decent effect with these lights on Chauncey's eyes that are almost like screens, and they're flashing forward all the imagination of all the kids that he sucked off. And god damn it, but that's what he did. And like how the blur and what made her dad go insane, right? And so Taylor tries to pull her off, say, don't look at the eyes, don't look at the eyes. And then she starts looking into the eyes as well. And then Abigail's like, oh my god, we need to stop him somehow. The magic of fire, which gets the attention of Chauncey, and Chauncey's are like, oh, so we can be friends? And then she goes, no, we were never, ever, ever, ever friends. And then she gains the courage to light the fire and burn Chauncey up and eventually close the door because they've defeated Chauncey. So that's how Chauncey fucking dies. And the house gets set on fire. So as they're going there to try to put the fire out of the house, well, they're thinking about it, and Jessica's like, no, we have to let it burn, because that's the only way that we're truly going to defeat Chauncey. And so they stand outside. They're all together after everything has been done. They now have a newfound love for each other. Taylor loves, Jessica like a mom. Abigail has proven her love. She's earned it through this hard-fought battle that they've had with Chauncey. As a fire truck's rolling up. The fire just fucking started. What neighborhood do they live in that the fire truck is going to be there in like 2 seconds and nobody fucking called? Because all the lights are out in the fucking neighborhood, but the fire truck just randomly fucking shows up. Fuck if I know. It's there. And then we cut over to the next morning as they're walking into a hotel room or a hotel to have, maybe it's even that evening, I don't know, but it looks pretty bright outside when they walk in. And so they were trying to go up to the desk to get a room, and they look over and they see something on a chair. And it freaks both Alice and Jessica out because it's a bear that looks like Chauncey. And then Taylor turns around. They look at the bear, realize that that's an imaginary friend, because I guess now that Taylor's been exposed to the imaginary world, she sees these imaginary friends around, and they decide that, nope, they need to go to another hotel. We see this kid talk to his mom about how his imaginary friend is hungry, and the movie ends.
I see it too.
There you are.
Rufus ran off on his own.
Sure you did, sweetheart. Come on, let's go sit.
Should we try the next hotel?
Great idea.
Okay, let's go. Can we eat soon? Rufus is getting hungry.
Imaginary friends don't get hungry, sweetie.
But he's not imaginary.
All right.
And so that was Imaginary. And in all honesty, what holds this movie back, and I've been saying this for most of the review, is just the story. The story is just trash, and it's the execution Not the story, it's the script. It's the execution of the story and the premise. The premise is really interesting, and it starts off pretty good. And I'm like, man, how is this a bad movie? And then after talking for 3 hours and 40-something minutes, I know now exactly how this is a bad movie. It's not good. Is it the worst movie of the year? No, I don't think so. That might be another movie, and maybe the movie that we're going to look at next time, which, I figured that we're going to do 2 newish movies or new movies this time. Then we'll get back some old stuff as we move on. But I just think that the script just does not live up to how good the acting is for this type of movie, right? How the scenes are shot, the direction is good, the cinematography is good. There's some decent scenes of tension in here, and some of it again is ruined by the fact that a lot of it is in the, in the trailer, and if it wasn't in the trailer, then it wouldn't be as big of a problem for the rest of the movie, right? But that's just the way that the cookie crumbles for this movie, and that's where it really falls short. And I think it's just its use of characters, the fact that the mom just really needs to be in it a lot, or the Gloria, that old lady, she just needs to be in it, right? Like, more than just these 2 scenes. Like, she's just there to reveal pieces of the plot, and that's it. Like, just integrate her, or have the mom, and a reason why the mom's there at the end other than just imagination. Like I said, it could just be that she's there and she's been like helping out because she is like controlled by the entity, and that's why she went crazy. And that's it was all set up when they could find a girl that has the same type of things that Jessica had that would bring them back and got her to get with the husband. Like, all these things, right? Like, the entity went out through the universe and invaded the ex-wife's thoughts and is controlling her and gave her a way for her to be back with her family. Even that sounds dumb, but I think that it would be better than what we got with Gloria, right? I think you could just ixnay the therapist, ixnay Gloria, and make the mom the main antagonist or the secondary antagonist from Chauncey, right? And even Chauncey doesn't seem that bad until we get the scene where Alice is trying to hurt herself. So, in terms of rating this movie, part of it is rough. Like, the gore factor is easy. It's a 1. The only thing that's relatively gory is when she stabs her hand with the scissors, and it's not even that bad. Like, this is PG-13. There's no blood. There's no hole. It just happens real quick. That's it. Even when Gloria gets killed, and there's only 1 death in the entire movie, and it happens to be Gloria, it's just blood underneath the fucking door. Anybody can see that, right? The movie itself, not really scary, though it has, I would say, 2 legitimate jump scares in the movie that could work pretty well. I think the first one works better than the second one, but I think the second one has a good setup and could get some people. So the fun factor, the crap factor in this movie is where I have the issue. Because it really comes down to the script in this, on my thoughts of this movie. And since that, like, I have to give it a 3. I was thinking about giving it a 4, but I think it's a 3 because, like I said, I think that the music fits really well. I think the score is used right in the movie, and it perfectly sets up the beginning, and as the movie moves on, it becomes more tense and creepy and things like that, and that works really well. I think the acting's pretty good. Like I said, I compare the lead actress in this movie to an Angela Bassett type of performance in this. Not one of her best ones, but like one of her earliest ones, like Vampire in Brooklyn Angela Bassett. Like that type of thing where it's good, and it's probably one of the better things about the movie, and it definitely is in this. But not everybody's up to par. Like I said, the child actress that plays Alice, she's good and she's bad. I totally get it. The person that plays Taylor, the young actress that plays her, is perfectly fine. And she plays the bitchy teenager, doesn't want another mom type of role pretty well. So I'm cool with that. Max is just non-existent in this movie. I don't even know why he leaves and why he doesn't come back. I kind of wish that he went along with Jessica's journey as well and, was there to be the savior. He doesn't have to be a male savior, but went in there with, Jessica to help and then got his kids out. And it's good that Taylor is the savior of Jessica. I think that says a lot because that's the growth of the character, right? But just to have Max even just involved, he doesn't really have to do shit. But for him to just basically be there for the beginning of the movie and then been like, see ya, I'm off for my Hookers and Blow tour 2024. Like, it's dumb. I just don't agree with it. And then, so with that, those things, they can't save the movie, but they can give it a 3 out of 5 in the crap factor. It doesn't hit the 4, it doesn't hit the 5, because again, the premise overall is good. It's execution and script that are bad. And definitely a negative is the Never Ever. Like, one, the name is kind of silly and it's kind of dumb and reminds me of Never Never Land. And then 2, which maybe it's supposed to, but if it's going to, it shouldn't look as bland as it does. It is the worst alternate world that I have seen in a long time. And it just, even if you went and straight up copied Coraline and it was just the house on the other side, maybe that would have been better. You could have done, but I just feel like when you get to the realm of the imaginary monster, the imaginary friend, like, it should be crazy, and it wasn't crazy. They had all the opportunity to make it weird, right? And you could do that, I feel like, with a low budget and camera tricks and stuff like that, but it's bland. It's really fucking bland, and there's just not enough to keep your interest while you're there. So the fun factor, it's a 1. I just didn't have in general, this movie was boring. It had some fun moments, but it wasn't even like so bad it's good to where I could laugh at it. And that's where I was really hoping that it would, even though there's laughable stuff in it, from the the bug eyes to the scene with Chauncey and the little girl overacting in it and just being a little bit too much in that scene. Yeah, that's fine, but it just doesn't work out overall for me, right? It's boring for most of the part, and I found myself like wandering and wanting to look at my phone because I just wasn't that into the movie. So it's a see it at your own risk type of movie. It's not really available anywhere to like watch for free, and I kind of wish it was, instead of paying $3.99 to watch the movie, right? So overall, it's gonna get a 2 out of 5 dumb old biddies, right? It's not the greatest. Is it the worst? It doesn't deserve a 1, but I don't feel like it's worth anybody's time to sit down and watch it, right? Is it like I said, is it the worst film of the year? No. Is it one of them? Yeah, it would be on my list of the worst horror movies that I've seen for 2024, which may be a list for the end of the year. So we'll see how that goes. So thank you guys so much for listening to this long ass episode on fucking Imaginary. I spent almost this much time on this as I spent on fucking Five Nights at Freddy's. That's fucking ridiculous. But I appreciate everybody that does listen to the podcast, as always. I know I say that all the time, but I honestly, truly do mean it. You guys that keep listening, you guys that reach out, you guys are absolutely the best, and it's the reason why I keep doing these stupid shows, and I keep doing this for like these multiple hours when I do these podcast episodes, and this long episode is the reason why I don't do it every fucking week. So if you want to follow me out there, come check me out. I'm available on most social media platforms out there. I'm out there on Twitter, T_T_podcast. I'm available on Facebook, facebook.com/TerribleTerrorPodcast, Instagram, Terrible Terror Podcast, TikTok, Terrible Terror Podcast, YouTube, Terrible Terror Podcast, where there are reviews up for Longlegs and Maxine. Please go check them out. I'd really appreciate it. And as always, I'm available most time during the week, Pacific Standard Time, on twitch.tv/TerribleTerrors. Come say hi. Let's talk some horror. Let's play some video games. You guys take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you real soon. Bye, guys.
And Landers is a boring old biddy.
Ned!